Boys! 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 Get on now! Get on now! Yeah, I'll talk to you on.
Matt, you're still screen sharing, right? Catch you in a bit, Tony.
Okay, mate.
See you in a bit, Toe.
Okay, I'm off.
He's not looking that quick, is he?
Oh, Richie. No. He'll be moaning about the weather.
That's Stephen Millington. He's fucking got some pace now.
He's decent. Yeah, he's decent. Qualified up there in race 3 last night as well.
I know. I was there.
Oh, was you? Oh, I didn't see you.
You wouldn't have saw me. Oh, Matt.
Yeah.
Don't go live yet.
Okay.
Ready?
How's your beaver?
Is that How I Met Your Mother?
How's your beaver? Yes, it is. Oh, now he's in the 31s. Where's his 29?
It's just 29.
That Lambo is not that strong around here, I'll tell him that now. It's mad how everything gains weight here. Except for Rob Smith's Ferrari. Dean Wasaki followed you. Follow back. Fuck off.
On what?
TikTok.
Oh, Dean. Okay, we'll go live in just a moment because I'm just trying to figure out last bits here. Okay, 5, 4. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SimPlay Motorsport here for Week 8 of the ACC Pro-Am Championship. I'm your host, Matthew Duffin, joined in the commentary box once again by my very good partner in crime, Dan Davis. Dan, good evening. Welcome back to the comms box. Obviously, you was here last night for the Valencia race in GT4s, but it's the GT3's first outing tonight, and it is Pro-Am that is going to bring us the first part of the action. We saw an interesting bit of racing last night. We saw an interesting bit of racing at this circuit last season. But what's tonight going to bring us with such a big grid?
Good evening, everyone. Hello, Matthew. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting night's worth of racing. Like you said, last night definitely brought a drama. I felt like I've not left the Valencia comms box and starting to get myself well acquainted in here. Got my snacks ready on the side, waiting for the sun to come out so I can get in my bikini once again, although it doesn't look like much sun is going to be around here this evening. No, yeah, it's going to be an interesting night, a very tricky circuit to get right here, man. It's primarily a bike circuit, as I explained last night, and especially for GT cars, it's not the most natural circuit to race on. It's not the best flowing. Well, it is a nice flowing circuit if you're on a bike, but unless you're in a Formula 1 car, I find that it's quite easy to make mistakes around here, and track limits is going to be the big key around here.
It is indeed. We've got a championship with 5 weeks left to go. It is that of week 8 with 9, 10, 11 and 12 coming at Suzuka, Kota, and then a double British header at Alton Park and Donington Park in the 2nd and 3rd week of December. Richie Michelle, though, leads the championship by 108 points from Dennis Hansen, who started to gain a few on him last week. Robert Smith is in 3rd place with the old sim racer down in P4. Justin Winter is 5th with Stephen Beck P6. John Goody is in 7th place with Sam in P8. Paul Williams is 9th with Casper All in P10. Mirko Ricci P11 from Lando Norris. Francisco in 13th with Gary Clarbell and Luke Saunders just behind him. Playerman's in 16th with Robert Ramsell, who's had a good spell since joining SimPlay Motorsport. He's worked up to 17th place already. Brian Craig from Fat Bloke with Kieran Argent sat in 20th. Monkey Boy 21st. Stephen Millington, who's had a really good couple of race wins, a race win last week, and a good couple of podiums in his time here in the Pro-Am. Then it is Rob Smith, Cranky Duckhead, DJ Phil, Darren Bell, who has now today sent me a picture, got his internet cables sorted and is hopefully going to have them fitted and will be back on the grid next week. The Jackal is 27th. From Michael Graham, Dean Vigas, who's not been around due to work in the last couple of weeks, he hopes to be back for the end of the season. Jamie Hicks, Dean Wasocki, Best, Lucas Rushton, Ellie, who if she gets in, we have managed to sort out the problems with her, and Yoshi down at the bottom. Constructors Championship then looks like this. It is Team Richie Corsa, who are 102 points clear of the Team Dane Train. They need Casper Olin really did the Dane Trains to sort of pick up some points, while Mirko hasn't scored well in recent weeks. Stage 2 Motorsport is P3 from Forever Forward Racing, with the Greasy Bandits Racing P5, Team Tom are P6, Team FBR P7. P8 is the Roadrunner Bandits from Cam Racing, Team Merlot, McLaren Racing, the Naval Racing Team 2, Speedy Gonzalez Motorsport, Greasy Bandits Jr. and the Wind Up Motorsports bringing up the rear. Been an absolutely fantastic couple of weeks, Dan, especially that for Robert Ramsell and for that of Stephen Millington, who really came in a few weeks ago and have made an instant impact, haven't they, in the Pro-Am series? They've taken podiums, taken race wins, and they've been a threat at the front of the grid.
Yeah, for sure. That Ferrari has really been on their side. Cam Racing have really stepped it up and been a real threat, not just as drivers, but also as a team. Really been working well together, especially in the reverse grids. Obviously, they have that advantage being at the front, but they've not backed off in the pace. They're currently sat as 2nd and 6th at the minute in the session. Only a couple of hundred separating Richie Michelle and Stephen Millington. So he has got pace in that Ferrari. And Robert Ramsell, only 6/10 off the back of them as well. So they have been brilliant to watch the last couple of weeks. But this is literally anyone's here. At the minute, we've got currently in the top five different manufacturers: Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche, BMW and a McLaren. And as you can see as well, the Mercedes-Benz looking like it's struggling here. As the circuit, again, like I go back to talking about it being a bike circuit, it goes more for the chassis and downforce kind of element. Yeah. So that's why you see the McLaren quite strong around here, the Ferrari definitely, and the Porsche as well. You're going to expect the big grunty cars like the Mercedes and the Lexus, Nissan, stuff like that to struggle around this circuit.
Yeah, indeed, you saw last night as well, I think the pace of especially that start straight, the Mercedes was being caught by the Ginetta in some instances, as well as the Aston not being able to just pull away. The Chevy Camaro couldn't use its maximum top speed to massively pull away from other cars, and that was evident last night, and it's going to be evident here as the night goes on, like Dan says. We've got a few drivers out there on the circuit, and I think this was the one circuit last season where me and you were sat there saying we wish we could use the other camera, because some of the Camera 1 cameras are awful, but we've managed to fix that for this season, and we can bring you the other camera angles. Track is obviously fast. If you're wondering why it's in the dock, it is the early morning race of the season, which means if I press this button here, the times of the race: 5 a.m. for free practice, 7 a.m. for the race, and then 5, 6 and 7 for free practice 2 qualifying and race 2. And the temperatures are a little low now. They're obviously going to pick up as the race goes on, especially into our race time, getting in towards that sort of 8 o'clock period in the morning where temperatures are going to hit, a little warmer.
Yeah, definitely. So as the day goes on, it's obviously going to get hotter, it's going to get warmer, and it's obviously going to take effect onto the tyres, and tyre management is going to be key around here. But yeah, it's all well and good practicing in this practice session, but obviously those temperatures and pressures are going to be rising, and we'll see what the best the best of these guys can do out of that situation, because to me it's all going to be about tyre management here.
Yeah, it is all going to be about tyre management, and this is going to be the interesting thing, isn't it, in that hour race? You're looking at maybe if this was raced, earlier in the day, maybe later in the afternoon like we normally have races, that this would probably be a tyre change race. Early morning, Dan, the temperatures being cooler, is that going to save that from possibly having a change of tyres, or what are we expecting in that second race?
Possibly so. I mean, it's going to help them a little bit, but just the natural turning of the circuit will actually make it it's just gonna the nature of these corners is what's really gonna affect the tires here, and even if it may be cooler conditions, it's still the fast flowing corners one after the other, the heavy braking zones, turning while braking. That's what's going to do the damage to the tires, I think, here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do a tire change. I mean, I know I'm possibly looking to possibly do it for tomorrow night. I'm not sure yet, but it's definitely something that people have to strongly consider.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, apologies. It is something that drivers are definitely going to have to consider going into that race 2, and it's kind of that feel of race 2, Dan, where it's, you know, let's see what plays out, let's see what happens, isn't it? You kind of got to read it by the book, unless you've been able to do that good hour-long testing in the week to know how you're kind of going to prepare for this one. It's kind of going to be about race management and race judgment, isn't it? Do we pit, do we change them tyres, or can we manage to get these to the end?
Yeah, definitely so, exactly that. And the other thing as well they've got to take into consideration is, yes, they've just done free practice. They are now about to go and do a sprint race, and then followed by qualifying. So they're going to get in the mindset of pushing hard right at the very beginning and pushing the limits. And as soon as they go into the race, they got to try and kind of switch that part of that brain off and dial it back down again, because if they keep pushing that hard, they could, again, like a bring back up. Track limits is going to be the key thing.
And that's one of the things as well, isn't it? Is this is why we run this format. We've run this format now for quite a while. Is it brings that dynamic of, right, sprint race, let's push, let's go, flat out, make some moves. Come then in that 45 minutes time, whatever it is, till that second race starts. It's a very different dynamic. You've got to switch on your brain a little bit. You aren't going to win that race in 20 minutes. What you can do though is lose it in 20 minutes. Also your tyres. Make sure your fuel's correct. So a lot to play for these drivers here. DJ Phil's the only car circulating the circuit at the moment. He's just started one last flying lap. Kieran Argent hasn't set a lap time in this free practice. Good evening to Tips, Paul Williams, Fraser and PN Motorsport in the chat as well. Good evening to you all as DJ Phil will finish his lap time. And Dan, Luke Saunders tonight, tech leader, obviously a previous champion back in the amateur league on the PS4 days many moons ago. He makes his 50th race start in race 2 this evening, and I do want to apologise to Dan Davis, myself and Phil last week. Forgot to mention that with that race win, with that second place race win, with that race win Dan got last week at Catalonia in race 2, that was Dan's 200th podium. So Dan, a massive congratulations to yourself. Apologies we missed it, but Luke Saunders making that 50th race start tonight.
Yeah, 50 race starts for Luke Saunders. It's been on and off between PS4 and PS5, but it's nice to have him back in the league. We did, obviously, in the Amcast, I did get to race him wheel to wheel back in the day, but I was in a machine that wasn't really quite capable of race wins, let's put it that way, but it did manage to get 2. No, it's nice to see Luke Saunders in here with us, aka tech leader from the olden days, if everyone reminds him of that. But 50 race appearance here at Valencia in the BMW, possibly probably one of the races he probably didn't want to be at his 50th, but nonetheless, let's see what he can do tonight as we get ourselves set up ready for the reverse sprint race. And 200 podiums, spreading across multiple different it's spread obviously across multiple different championships, but it's definitely good.
Well, it is good for yourself. If you look at the fact that you've only done 307 starts, it means you've not been on the podium 107 times. You've had more podiums than you haven't. So that's pretty decent going for yourself, obviously across multiple championships and across multiple things. Just to remind people of the BOP, we've not really spoke about the BOP too much this season. Like you say, like Dan's just said there, we're touching on the Luke Saunders not probably wanting his 50th race start here. That's because the BMW M4 carries 12 kilograms. It carries the maximum amount of ballast for this circuit. So he will then be struggling with that one from the get-go. The McLaren carries 8 with the Audi Evo 2. We don't have any 7. Lamborghini Huracan carrying 7. Porsche 992 carrying 2. Honda NSX even carries 2 kilograms, as does the Ferrari. The Merc and the Ferrari carry 1. And then a big drop for the Aston Martin. I don't think there's any out there, but that's -6. The Ford Mustang is -9. That we're not going to get to see this week. There's no D and there's no Overtaker. He's declined for tomorrow. No Nissan tonight. That's -12. Bentley Continental is only -14. But the old Ferrari 488 Evo that we do see Rob Smith in, that carries a minus of 35 degrees in this race.
So a massive variety of different bops there, and it should be interesting to see what Cranky Duckhead can do. He's near the front in that Honda. Got good downforce, that car.
DJ Phil's missed the start. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah, I'm currently on board with him and stuck in the pit lane with him. It's definitely a lot of cars gaining weight rather than losing weight around here.
Yeah, it does seem to be the case. Obviously, one of the newer circuits here on the ACC platform, and it's going to be an interesting one to see. Who are you going for, though, Dan, in this race? Who are you kind of looking at and thinking, oh, I fancy them?
I'm going to go Stephen Millington. P6, close to the front.
Yeah.
To be patient at the start and then work his way through. Maybe Jamie as well is one to keep an eye on. He struggled in the GT4s. He might be a lot better in the GT3s around here. Who knows? But I'm going to go for Stephen Millington.
I'm going to give a shout to... I'm going to go Monkey Boy. I think that Merc may have a bit of something here. Let's wait and see, though. We're going to see what's happening in a few moments' time in this first race, and it's going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on and watch what these drivers do around here. So I was just reading something in the Discord there. Right, so we're coming round to the final part of to the middle part of the lap. Let's run you through the grid order for you guys and girls at home who want to see what the grid order looks like. So it is round 15 and 16 of this track. It's meant to be Ellie on pole, but it's not. It will be Ian Best, as Ellie hasn't arrived. Dean Wasaki's meant to be P3. He's not here, so it will be Jamie. Alongside them will be DJ Phil, but he's missed the start, so it'll be Cranky Duckhead. We might get some side by side now. Rob Smith and Steve Millington are together in 4th and 5th, and then it's Monkey Boy and Kieran Argent making up a few spots there. Then it's Brian Craig and Robert Ramsell going, because there's no fat bloke, so Brian Craig, Robert Ramsell, Player Man just behind them with Luke Saunders. After Luke Saunders, Gary Clarbel and Francisco Gomez are 12th and 13th. Lando Norris, P14 with Mirko Ricci just by him. Obviously, ignore the numbers on the positions of the chart. Casper Olin from Paul Williams with Sam from John Gooday. Steve Beck will line up then with Justin Winter. Old Sim Racer from Robert Smith, and I think Ian Best has probably just got out of his grid spot a little bit too quick there, Dan, because he's just been teleported back to the pits. So I think he has been teleported by running too fast over his delta time. So now Jamie's going to take us away at the start of this race. And we are green and go here then for the 15th round of the season, and Jamie's got a lone start on the track. Down towards turn 1 he comes. We're going to drop back to the Cranky Duckhead. That's where the action could be, because look at these cars. Monkey Boy's got a hell of a start going up the inside into turn 1. Gets a bit of a tap from Rob Smith. Millington forces Kieran Argent out wide as they go 3 wide through turn 1. Now here comes Monkey Boy looking up the inside of Cranky Duckhead in towards turn 2. Cranky leaves just enough room for Monkey Boy, who's going to squeeze up the inside, and he goes through. Lovely move now. Steve Millington's going to try and get past Cranky. Into the left-hander they come. Through he goes. What about Kieran Argent? Huge bike race. This will know this circuit from other games, and it's a good clean getaway from everybody, Dan. Little argy-bargy down at the battle. I think that's Paul Williams who's got a yellow flag near his name.
Richie Michel's had a brilliant start. He's worked his way up the order relatively quickly. He even started from the back of the pack. He's up already, up into, I believe it's 14th place, 13th place position. So Richie Michel on the move here, while the championship contenders are busy fighting it out. But relatively good start, except for Rob Smith. He got spun around and dropped to the back of the pack, but there's been all sorts of straights since then. And DJ Phil has now got going, but Richie Michel needs to purely focus on one car and one car only, and that is Dennis Hansen, who is the man who's going to be trying to hunt him down in this championship. But it is Jamie leading away from Big Boy, from Monkey Boy, who is now being, I nearly said somebody else then, from Stephen Millington, going up the inside of him and up into second place position. So job done, just one car to go for Stephen Millington now.
Yeah, one car to go. Big Boy Brazy is not here. I get why you did it. You said Jamie into Big Boy. What's happened?
Robert Ramsell just sent it into the final corner, did kind of complete the move, but ended up dropping behind Monkey Boy as well. So once again, the two Cam Racing duos are at it, and they're trying to work their way through the order.
Just seen Dan down the start line. I'm not sure who this is, but I saw a meatball flag being waved. I'm not sure who for. As Mirko Ricci's looking up the inside, then adjusting Winter towards turn 1. Can't get anything done there. Just behind them is Dennis Hansen on the outside of John Gooday. Tries to flick it back to the inside. He's now, sorry, no, that's his teammate Casper Olin trying to do it. It is Dennis Hansen now going up the inside of his teammate. All sorts of dramas down the back end of the grid. Like you say, DJ Phil in a bit of strife. Francisco Gomez and Robert Smith haven't got going. Neither's Luke Saunders, really. All the BMWs down the back of the pack, as DJ Phil is already now on the back of Ian Best as he slides that car around. But Jamie got away and did what he needed to do. Millington, though, Monkey Boy looked like he had a good start. Millington hunted him down and made sure he got past him early on in that final lap. Argent's not giving up. In fact, where has Ramsell gone? He's down in P6, so yeah, he's not sure what he's done here. But he's behind Argent, and he's behind that of Gary Clarbel, as Argent's a little wide. Gary Clarbel's going to try and attack him in the Porsche. Could be a good track for the Porsche this week. Couple of corners, especially in that middle sector, that will really help the Porsche in this race. It didn't seem at its best at Catalonia last week, so what can Gary Clarbel do? But Richie Michel, Dan, up into ninth. He's already in that top 10, and he's looking for more.
He is indeed, and like I said, he's just got to make sure he keeps a couple of cars between the championship contenders, Dennis Hansen and Robert Smith, who currently at the minute is not having the best start. He's down in 22nd. He's obviously got a little bit of damage also to his car, as Casper Ollins dropped down the order also. But a lot of these cars struggling to work their way through, as Dennis Hansen's looking to try and make a move on John Goudet, who runs wide out of the final corner and now is into the slipstream of Mercedes-Benz. And all these guys are currently being held up by Mirko Ritchie, and John Goudet pulling out of the slipstream to try and attack onto the inside of Playerman, and that should be job done for him. And Playerman runs wide. That is going to be a track limits warning right there.
I don't know. There was some last night that wasn't being given as track limits warnings. It was very interesting to watch and very interesting to see what was happening. But John going from attacked to attacking. He's got past Playerman. They both ran very wide. Dennis Hansen still putting the pressure onto the back of him. Sam and Steve Becker now applying pressure to that of Playerman. If we drop down the order once more, Robert Smith, Dan, he's now lost out to Luke Saunders. He just cannot. These BMWs don't look like they're getting anything going. The only one that's doing relatively well was Kieran Argent. He started up the order. Gary Clarbel's now got Ramsell on the back of him, and now look who's already up into P7. Richie Michel. He's got up past Brian Craig. He's running in 7th place. He is storming at the moment.
He is indeed. Obviously, a lot of the fast guys are still trying to work their way through the other quick guys as well. So for Richie Michel, this is kind of like the kind of territory that he needs to be in. But he has got Justin Winter going with him. So every time he makes a move, Justin Winter's going with him. So he could be a headache towards the end of this race. Oh, and there's a spinner there. That is Argent.
So Argent's had a moment, didn't see what that was. We were looking at Sam there trying to get up the inside of Cranky Duckhead. Now that's opened the door for Steve Beck behind him to have a look, and the old sim racer all in a bit of a train here. Can't do nothing about it. Steve Beck has to avoid the back of Sam and might actually get this move done around the outside. So the late braking of Steve Beck has got that move done around the outside there. Argent's dropping down the order, whereas he came into just ahead of John Goudet, who's now got to defend from that of Dennis Hansen, who's looking to the inside line at turn 1. Not going to get it done there. Dropping back down towards Steve Beck as Rob Smith, the early pitter, and there is a big gaggle of cars here early on. Rob Smith in, Ian Bates in, DJ Phil and Francisco are also going to come in.
And Jamie's actually maintaining the gap to Stephen Millington. Stephen Millington not seems to be able to do anything to Jamie at the minute, even though he's now breaking that 4-second mark. But at the minute, Jamie's got this race under control. Monkey Boy got a solid P3 at this stage, but Gary Clarbel doing all the hard work, defending from Robert Ramsell, who's now got Richie Michel behind him.
Yeah, indeed he has, and it's going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on. Good evening to Matt Wright.
Oh, just dropped it again.
And DJ Phil was I'm transferring different, so I'm not quite sure what he's on about there. So Kieran Argent's lost the rear of the car again. Where is he? He was 10th. He's now come out behind Paul Williams. Yes, he's down in 22nd. So Argent there, 2 mistakes. It just goes to show you how much you can quickly lose out in these tight fields. And I'm going to ask a question.
Boy's under some pressure now.
Did John Goudet get caught up in that, Dan? Because there's Casper Ollin sideways. John Gooday's also dropped down the pack, and he's been clipped by Casper Ollin as Casper was stationary.
As just as you're talking about that, Monkey Boy's under some immense pressure for Gary Clarbel, and they come together, they make contact, and this is going to allow Robert Ramsell to come up the inside as he does so, and both Monkey Boy and Clarbel get back on the track, and Richie Michel's in the middle of all this. He does not want to get too much involved in this scrap because he's got a championship to think of, and Monkey Boy and Gary Clarbel are still going at it down the main straight, and Monkey Boy up the inside and holds on to that position from Gary Clarbel, but Gary Clarbel's probably getting frustrated at the back of that Mercedes now. Yeah, he probably is. Up the inside, they make contact once again, and Monkey Boy has a slide on the rear and manages to hang on to it. Robert Ramsell's now got Richie Michel with him, and I tell you what, there is some... This one circuit kind of frustrates me a little bit because it gives track limits for silly little incidents, but the ones where you're running really wide at turn 1,
it doesn't seem to penalise too much. Robert Ramsell now under pressure. Millington 3.2 to Jamie. What I liked about that there from Winter was Winter saw them gaggle, of course, chose to pit early, Dan. So is he looking for that jump on Richie Michel?
Possibly so. Robert Ramsell is obviously going to make it very difficult now for Richie Michel. Well, I hope he would. Just because you're championship leader doesn't mean you jump out of the way. Right now, Robert Ramsell is holding that position. He's going to obviously try and defend as much as he can for his teammate Stephen Millington, who's just got one objective now, and that's just to hunt down Jamie. And that gap is coming down. 2.9 is now the gap since they last crashed the sectors. So that gap is reducing. So we'll see what Richie Michel can do now. He's cleared most of the traffic. He's now only got a handful of cars left. And what is Justin Winter going to do with that early pit stop? He's got some nice clean air at the minute. As long as he keeps that Ferrari actually planted for once, then he might be able to move his way forward.
Great fight here between Playerman Old Sim Racer and Stephen Beck. And here he comes. Kieran Argent in the chat didn't drop it, was hit. So I said John Gooday had dropped down the order. I wonder if it was from John Gooday then. Monkey Boy into the pits, Old Sim Racer in, as well as Brian Craig. So a couple of cars come in. Kieran Argent's just come out.
Ramsell under some pressure.
Luke Saunders and John Gooday also into the pits as we'll go back to Robert Ramsell.
Robert Ramsell under some pressure going into turn number 1. I thought about defending for a second, but Richie Michel not quite close enough. It's not the easiest place to overtake around here. The corners obviously make it very difficult to really send it up the inside. It's all a flowing circuit, so he's really got to catch him out when he makes a mistake. Monkey Boy has now been released. Where is Justin Winter? He's already coming down the main straight, and he's going to clear Monkey Boy and Brian Craig. So there's 2 cars he ain't got to worry about. But Robert Ramsell is holding off Richie Michel at the minute. And while these two are fighting, Justin Winter is going to be gaining that time back.
Yep, Dennis Hansen as well on the back of Mirko Richie. Mirko will have a job as well, and that's to probably keep Hansen at bay for the time being. But like I say, Robert Ramsell doing the job he needs to do at the minute. Richie Michel just hasn't got close enough to make that move at the moment. And Robert Ramsell's been good enough in recent weeks that he's not really made mistakes. But this circuit with temperatures rising, we're already up to 13 degrees now. As Richie Michel just looked a little twitchy coming down the hill in towards the final corner. Ramsell doesn't pit. Richie Michel chooses to box now. So now this is time to turn our attention to that of Justin Winter, who's just coming up towards the end of the middle sector, Dan. And this could be really, really touch and go.
It could be indeed, but he really needed to nail these laps, did Justin Winter. If he had nailed the laps, he's going to be in the pound seat for sure. But Robert Ramsell set fastest lap that last lap. So, to be honest, even if Richie Michel comes out, they've not been lapping too slowly. That's what's indicating to me. Yep. So Richie Michel has now gone green. Where is Justin Winter? He's into the final corner. I don't think he's done enough. I think Richie Michel has hanged on.
I agree with you there. He's down the start-finish straight now. Camera will pan to the other way. There's Richie Michel at the bottom of your screen just going off it. He's out and off the limiter. And through he goes. Not enough for Justin Winter. Justin did, though, get ahead of Gary Clauble out of all of that. And Monkey Boy, who was fighting with Gary Clauble, has lost out to him. And lost out to Mirko Richie. Dennis Hansen's been released now from Mirko Richie. So a chance for him now to maybe pump in a lap or two just with a bit of clean air and see what he can do. Just dropping down the order a little bit. Robert Smith with a damaged front end is on the back of Lando Norris. We've got Luke Saunders trying to gain on John Gooday. He's taking Rob Smith with him. And then we've obviously got the fight between Brian Craig and Monkey Boy after Monkey Boy's excursions off the circuit a little earlier on.
If I was Robert Ramsell, I would now be pitting and covering off Richie Michel as both the leaders coming in, Jamie and Stephen Millington, both into pit lane. What is Robert Ramsell going to do? He is in as well. This needs to be a quick stop and go for him. He needs to get this quick, otherwise he's going to be under pressure from Richie Michel. As he's coming in the pits, he's in a similar position to where Justin Winter was. So this could still be, he could still be in front as Dennis Hansen opts to stay out another lap. He's now got fastest lap of the race. So is that going to be a wise choice from him? He has got time to do so. So is that one extra lap going to be enough? Obviously, the traffic's got out of his way. I think he's got time, Dan, to go for a second one after this and then come into the pits, which with that clear air. Touch and go.
Yeah, what we're looking, 130. It's a risk.
You make a mistake. Stevie Millington's jumped Jamie in the pits.
Oh, there we go. So Stephen Millington's jumped. Jamie, here comes Richie Michelle. He's jumped that. Excuse me, of Robert Ramsell then. So Robert Ramsell's pit stop didn't work out for him. Richie Michelle jumps him in the pit lane. He didn't get jumped by Justin Winter. He is a long way behind. But Jamie loses out to Millington. They are on the back of each other. And this is interesting now with Cranky Duckhead separating them and Richie Michelle by some there. In fact, there was Richie Michelle. So not by a lot. But Cranky Duckhead in the middle, and he's racing for position at the moment. Dennis Hansen, I think, is going an extra lap, maybe even an extra second lap, just to maybe confirm that jump over Mirko Ricci. We're stuck behind him for a while. The minute he was in free air, that's the fastest lap of the race.
As he comes into the final sector now, he's going to be wanting to push that McLaren as best he can. Sam and Casper Olin also opt in to go long, as does the Cranky Duckhead. And the Cranky Duckhead might become start of a bit of a nuisance for the Lamborghini of Richie Michelle, because obviously he'll want to try and clear the Jamie and Stephen Millington as quickly as he can and try and get a race win and try and extend that gap. But at this stage, those two are having their own little scrap at the minute, as Dennis Hansen has responded and come into the pits.
Sam didn't. So Sam's going for one more. Plenty of time still on the clock, about a minute and a half per lap. As does Casper Olin. He decides to pit as well. So here comes Millington and Jamie. Dennis Hansen not yet gone green, and there's Richie Michelle. Cranky Duckhead also comes into the pit lane then. So that is a couple of these drivers in. Dennis Hansen has still not gone green, so this is going to put him down the order. Where was Mirko Ricci? He was behind. Mirko Ricci's there. Dennis Hansen's now leaving the pit lane. He's off the limiter, and looks like he's jumped that of Mirko Ricci and Gary Clarble, nearly Justin Winter. But Jamie, he's sticking with Millington, you know, Dan. He's not letting him go yet.
Yeah, the pace was relatively similar to them. Just even started to get in a little bit of a groove. And I think where it's going to be interesting is when Richie Michelle starts to creep onto the back of him and see what he can do when he's got two cars in front of him battling it out for a race win. Stephen Millington going for his second race win while Jamie's trying to go for his first. And yeah, this is going to be a hard fight to the end now with 6 minutes left to go in this race, and Sam will have to pit this lap. 1 minute to go until the pit window closes. All he has to do is be in pit lane. He doesn't have to be in his box. He just has to be in pit lane before the pit window closes.
Sam's coming around to the final corner now. Just going to drop that down to Monkey Boy, who's been passed by Brian Craig, in fact, actually. So Lando Norris on the back of Robert Smith. Robert Smith's got past him. John Goodate trying to get close to the back of Stephen Beck. We've then got Rob Smith trying to get close to the back of Luke Saunders. And then Old Sim Racer looking to make a move on the outside of Playerman. Just clipped the rear of Playerman there. They've got Paul Williams for company as well. Not a good day for the BMW. The highest BMW is P12.
It is indeed of Robert Smith, the championship contender, and he's got damage to that car, so his championship slowly starting to slip away. Well, Dennis Hansen's trying to keep it in contention by chasing down Justin Winter, but at the minute, Richie Michelle doing everything that he needs to do, as Sam has now gone green and is now leaving pit lane. Will he be the leading BMW still, as he will leave the pit lane? Robert Smith has not got to it, so Sam will be the leading BMW as he exits the pit lane.
There we go then. So Sam the leading BMW. This is a good fight between Playerman, Old Sim Racer. There's actually Luke Saunders looking to make a move on the inside of turn 1 on Rob Smith. No good can do for him there. John Gooday down in 15th, trying to look on the back of Steve Peck. And as we go further forward, Richie Michelle now fastest lap of the race. He's on the back of Jamie.
He is indeed. He's got to be patient here. He just needs to collect the points. This is a brilliant position for him. He does not need to stress about anything. He just needs to take his time. Jamie's run wide. That's possibly a sniff of new opportunity up the inside. But Richie Michelle behind the McLaren driver now, as Jamie goes a little bit wide again, but will get a better exit because of it. Get a slingshot out of the corner and up towards the kink they go. Meanwhile, Dennis Hansen has cleared Justin Winter, but he's run wide at the same time, and that's going to allow Justin Winter back through once again.
Yeah, Richie Michelle just dropped a wheel onto gravel coming through the little chicane type bit, and that's put him off the back of Jamie just a little bit, so it puts it back to Jamie to have a bit of breathing space here. Not a lot though. And Steve Millington still not a mile away at the moment. It's 1.2, so Jamie brought the gap down to Steve Millington last time round. Richie Michelle over 7/10. You can drop back. There's Robert Ramsell, who's got a 1.7 gap to Justin Winter. Then Dennis Hansen, who's going to pull out now and have another look here on Justin Winter. Down the start straight they come in towards turn 1. He's going to think better of that and leave that for another day. And Dennis Hansen just patiently waiting. There's Gary Clarball, then Mirko Ritchie. Not really big gaps. They've not really strung out too much down in this first race. There is still a good cluster of cars everywhere. John Gooday might feel interested. He's close to the back of Steve Beck. Down in towards turn 1. They come. He's not going to pull out and have a look. No, he's not. Playerman's got that of Old Sim Racer from Paul Williams just behind him. Casper Olin, I tell you what, he needs to start picking up some points for the team, because that's where the Ritchies are able to pull away at the moment.
Yeah, it is at the minute, but there's always race 2. Casper Olin's got to try and get himself back into that championship fight. And again, the team that's doing the strongest once again is the Cam Racing duo in this sprint race. Obviously starting near the front. They've still got to stick with it. They've still got to keep going. And at the minute, they are holding their ground as Jamie's caught a little bit onto the back of Stephen Millington once again. His track is now up to optimum finally. And Richie Michelle is still breathing down the neck of that McLaren. I'm just keeping an eye on the top 3 fight just in case anything happens.
Yeah, just gone back to Jamie and Richie Michelle a moment. Just noticed Argent is just ahead of them, who's a lap down. So that'll hurt him. That'll obviously play dividends.
Jamie's gone wide
to the leaders, because it's difficult at stages of this circuit to get out the way. Jamie ran a little wide out the final corner. Down the start straight they come. Don't know if Richie Michelle is close enough here to that of Jamie. He might have a look into turn 1. He's going to, he's going to go up the inside. Jamie backs out that, and Richie Michelle, I don't know what happened there, but they both come together. It was the front of Jamie's car on the rear of Richie Michelle. A flash of the lights from Jamie there. Was that Michelle just missing the apex of the corner, or was that Jamie turning in? Unknown at the moment, but Richie Michelle's now up in second place.
Yeah, Richie Michelle's also quite laggy.
Oh, he's let him through.
He's given the place back, which is smart, but he's going to try and come back underneath him. I mean, it's better than trying to get a penalty.
Yeah.
You give the place back and you just go again.
Right.
So Richie Michelle losing out there, trying to just be a little bit too forceful. That's just allowed Stephen Millington to go away. Jamie's had his own moment and he's dropped it.
Loses the rear. That's allowed Richie Michelle through. He won't have to let that one back. That has allowed Stephen Millington to pull away, though. There'll be one lap left after this, I imagine, which is Stephen Millington probably going to feel a bit comfortable now. Dennis Hansen still not past Justin Winter. They're gaining on Robert Ramsell at the moment. Sam is on the back of that of John Gooday, and he's got Robert Smith for company. Robert Smith's really closed in on these two.
Yeah, he has. Robert Smith has indeed, but Monkey Boy just struggling by the looks of things, and the Mercedes not really got any answer in that car, as Lando Norris isn't a million miles away, but yeah, it's just ebbing and flowing between certain cars here as Monkey Boy goes wide, and Sam's going to look interested here with Robert Smith just behind, carrying that damage on board, and right now Stephen Millington crosses the line to start his final lap here and possibly on his way to his second race win. But Sam has had a great run through the final sector, and he's going to look to try and make a move on the Mercedes-Benz and Monkey Boy. And Monkey Boy defends the inside. Sam's going to try and get the cut back, but he did it a bit too early, and so did Smith as well. So they all just have to check up ever so slightly. But Stephen Millington with a comfortable lead ahead of Michelle and ahead of Jamie. And Richie Michelle probably think, wow, this is not been a bad start to the night already. Yeah,
he'll probably take a second place in the fastest lap at the moment. And if you look at Stephen Millington, he's got Argent, who is a lap down. Where Millington is right now is a good position to lap Argent. Bit of a straight. It's this next sector that comes up. A lot of corners come up quick. The track starts to just tighten a little bit. And I don't see any blue flags waving at the moment for Argent. So can probably count his chickens at the minute that he hasn't been told to get out of the way. But Millington, great race once again. Did the work early, jumped in the pits, just drove a solid race, not made any mistakes.
Yeah, just been patient and took his time, and when he got the jump, he then just controlled it from there. No real mistakes, no real threat from the cars behind, and he's managed to keep get the job done.
Coming up towards the final corner now for Stephen Millington. It is going to be yet another race win this season. It's been absolutely fantastic, and it's been brilliant to see Stephen Millington there take what it looks to be another really good result for him. First and a fourth last week. He's going to back that up with another win today. Stephen Millington comes to take the checkered flag. Great race from him. Second place for Richie Michelle with the fastest lap. Third for Jamie. Good result for the young man. Robert Ramsell fourth with Justin Winter P5. Dennis Hansen in sixth. Gary Clarball seventh from Mirko Ritchie in eighth. Then it's Brian Craig P9. Just behind Mirko Ritchie, got close at the end, and it's a drag race to the line. Monkey Boy versus Sam. Robert Smith's going to be P12. Who's going to take P10? It's Monkey Boy from Sam 11th, Robert Smith 12th, Lando Norris 13th. Then it will be that of Steve Beck 14th, John Gooday P15, with Luke Saunders 16th place, Rob Smith 17th from Paul Williams in 18th. Old Sim Racer and Casper Olin are close at the end. That'll go the way of Old Sim Racer from Casper Olin, and Playerman has just been done, it looks like, by Francisco. So Francisco's going to take 21st. Playerman 22nd. Cranky Duckhead with a drive through, can't serve it now. He'll cross the line before, and that is going to give him a 30-second penalty. The bonus for him, I say the bonus, is he's only going to lose 1 place. In fact, no, he might actually lose the 2, especially now he's came to the pit lane.
Yeah, that's a shame for him, but that's pushing the limits a little bit too hard there. But nonetheless, with Stephen Millington adding another race to win to his name, and he'll be happy about that. But Richie Michelle extends his championship lead ever a bit more with that sprint race, which is always going to be a tricky one, the sprint race, especially being reverse grid. But yeah, it's going on to the feature race, and he's looking in a very strong position.
Yeah, there we go. Looks like Cranky Duckhead did lose out 2 places by 4.6 seconds to that then of DJ Phil and of that of Ian Best at the very end. But what a race that was. We'll be back for race 2 in a few moments' time. Not bad, not bad, not bad.
Yeah, you're right. John did hit Argent.
Did he?
Mm-hmm. Sent up the inside when it really wasn't going to happen.
Green light. Go, go, go.
That'll be a ticket. Francisco 21st. Monkey Boy was 10th, I believe. Yep. Justin 5th. John 15th. Darren Endine's not here. Dennis Hansen 6th. Jekyll will be in for race 2. Luke Saunders 16th. Cranky. Lando Norris 13th. No, Michael.
We have nice cars with us, the sun, nice track. We're having fun in the car, so yeah, we always try to have fun, and I think it's
Playerman.
when
Down the order. 22nd. Lucas not here, Ruston not here. Ramsel was 5th.
we still play something on the road standing, so we have to
4th.
do a good job this weekend, but yeah.
Jamie 3rd. No Elliott, no Hicks. Best.
You don't have a lot of time to rest, as we saw today.
23rd.
The lap times are pretty close, so it's going to be close tomorrow in qualifying, and it's going to be very important to hope for the 3rd place of the championship. So let's hope for a good weekend, some overall podium, a good qualifying tomorrow morning, and let's hope for a good end to the championship.
Louis Matthews and Andrea Bertolini are chasing hard in Pro-Am. They are 20.5 points behind Miguel Ramos and Tim Norton. It's another AF Corsa Ferrari team. And success and titles have been accumulated easily over the years by Louis Matthews and Andrea Bertolini. This could be another.
Still the possibility, but you know, with Louis always
fight till the end. And yeah, it will be a special weekend one more time. Like you know, we can fight for all the championship. We still on the button, so it will be really tough, like all the competition and every racing weekend.
Ferrari is quite strong, but as you have seen the past season, the McLaren is very strong. Maybe too strong. Very competitive. So, well, we will fight till the end, definitely. I don't. He is the Italian one, I'm the Belgian one. We are proud of the country, proud of the car, and we will go till the end.
And this is the crew that they are chasing. It is the Garage 59 Ram McLaren, the drivers of which are Miguel Ramos and Dean McDonald. They have enjoyed a really impressive season. Miguel Ramos, hugely experienced, and Dean McDonald has been another standout this season.
We are leading. Let's hope that this weekend goes well. Let's see how it's every day. So it's depending on how it goes at the start of the race. If there is any confusion, but we are here to win. So let's hope for the best.
I think the race will be difficult for passing, so I think qualifying's key. I think we go into the same here with the same approach as we have done the previous rounds. And whatever happens,
Two 1-hour races, 2 drivers per car. That means that there is a mandatory pit stop between 25 and 35 minutes on the race.
You take the ball, you place it in your hand, you vanish it, and it appears underneath the cup. As I said, that's the way it's done all the time. You take the ball, you place it in your hand, you vanish it, it appears underneath the cup. There's a little variation Kelly came up with, where he takes the ball, places it in his hand, then he shows you underneath the cup, and it still appears underneath the cup. Now, for that center ball, placing it in the center cup, talking the two side balls, put them away, and they still appear at the center cup. Just a little bit of juggling, which King Charles did not do. And underneath the center cup is a giant ball, one more at the side, and of course for the finish, it's an American ice ball. So I'm going to tell you exactly how this trick is being done. Third rule of magic is you never let the audience see your secret preparation. They must not know what listening or in Now, the fourth rule of magic is unwritten by every magician in the world, and you're the second, that you never ever do the cups and balls with clear plastic cups. So this is the Penn and Teller version of the cups and balls. They get us thrown out of the magic circle. Now it's like this: get the first ball, pretend to place it in our hand, and we're going to step underneath the first cup. And this is the place in our hand and show it. Then the third and final ball, place in our hand, press it, we got the place in the cup, and see if we can feel it. Now all of a sudden, it's like an apple comes all those three balls on top, get the center ball, place in the cup, get the two side balls, make it away, go in meanwhile, we have two pieces in the center cup. These three balls go in. This is not juggling. This is called misdirection. Or look over here, tells us final ball under, one ring to side, and of course for the finish,
At the end of the race,
it's American baseball.
quickly is it?
Oh my goodness.
Sector 1's gone, Sector 2 are almost complete, 14 turns. The key to this racetrack is fundamentally it's a circuit for motorcycles. So all the entry curves and all the exit curves are virtually flat, and that's where we get this introduction of track limit abuse coming from. So everybody is aware of it, everybody will use the envelope. When you push it too far, you're going to start.
When you get to the race, it could be Tony with Valentino Rossi knows his way around here on 2 wheels. He tested GT cars here at the back end of last season, and lots of his fans, as you would expect, are here to cheer him on, and he will start the race today. He will do the second stint tomorrow, but his warning lights up. He is the star driver. The grid has been shuffled a bit. Grid drops for behavioural warning points, grid drops for offences this morning, and his car in the end will start 12th on the grid, sharing with Fred Bevish, the man with his back to us right now.
Well, Valentino tested here initially for WRTRD. He was doing that time, approximately 1 minute 54.whatever. Never said he'd always seeing it when we see him behind the wheel, but he did a lap 1:30.0 something or other this morning. So he's basically fine in the space of a year.
Are you paying for
The
flight?
best part
You
of
gotta
3 seconds. Significant amount of time for a driver coming in through a sport.
Hey Matt,
Yeah.
why did they cut the Wi-Fi from the farm?
I don't know.
Because the cows are downloading too much music. Did you hear that?
No.
Sometimes I have sex with my dad in the elevator.
Right.
It's wrong on so many levels.
Well, right.
Kibo.
Wow. Wow. That was it. I saw you at Wrestle, and what better place to hit the jackpot?
Yeah, so it's going to be a tough race ahead, and of course,
If he wins in
the
Vegas
challenge is to feel your way
as he
through the
did
traffic
last
now.
year, and goes on then to take the title, brilliant. Well done, Max Verstappen. What a fantastic performance. And to be world champion in a year where he's clearly not in the fastest car.
Thank you very much. Have a good race.
I think the performance of that went somewhere between Max and Checo Perez. Max and Checo Perez. But to keep that race not
Hi, I'm Melanie.
I'm Dave.
How to get past. The Mercedes have been very strong all season.
Monsters reported
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, because you're going to hear this. It may not come as a shock to any of you, but my dad is who hurt me. Listen, those fatherless...
was that brilliant? Was that meant to be me? You know, that black accent. I wondered, so I don't think so, but just thought, non-specific northerner. Okay. What did you think when you first met him? When I first met Paul? I thought he was really left-wing. He's got that look about him, like socialist worker. Sorry, I did.
Green light. Go, go, go.
I'll just wolf that curry down. That was fucking banging. Sorry, I was listening to you. I was eating a curry. She passed it me at the start of race one, and I have just walloped that down me. Whoa.
Don't burn yourself now.
No, it had 20 minutes to cool down, didn't it?
Yeah, innit?
Jam, my bowl's down here. Take it out, please. Ask Antonio she's upstairs. Who's out first? 181.
A car.
Oh.
That is Gary Crabble.
Oh. Oh. Right. Five, four. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to SimPlay Motorsport, here for the second round of the evening. It is the qualifying time, 6 a.m. in the morning, in a very difficult position to be in. We have red numbers, which means drivers cannot win the championship anymore. Richie Michelle still leads away from Dennis Hansen. By the way, we're on board with Gary Clauble, who'll be the first man to put a competitive lap time in. Lando Norris has a qualifying ban, so cannot compete in qualifying. But Richie Michelle leads from Dennis Hansen. That gap is now 126 points. Still 509 to play for, so a lot can happen. Dennis Hansen P2 with Robert Smith P3. Justin Winters P4 with Old Team Racer in 5th place. Don't forget the top 5 will be talked about being promoted. The top 1 definitely, but I think it's top 5 are getting promoted into that pro category next season. Stephen Beck is P6 with John Gooday in 7th. Sam is 8th with Paul Williams 9th. Mirko Ritchie P10. Casper Olin just behind him in P11. Then it is that of Lando Norris, who's 12th, for Gary Clauble 13th. Robert Ramsell P14 from Francisco in 15th place. Luke Saunders 16th on his 50th appearance this afternoon. Stephen Millington moves up to 17th place. What a season he's starting to have. Playerman is 18th with Brian Craig 19th. Monkey Boy jumps Argent for 20th spot with Fat Bloke down to 22nd. Rob Smith is 23rd. Cranky Duckhead 24th. DJ Phil from Darren Bell. The Jackal, who should be in, I actually haven't had a look, and is in for this next race of the afternoon. Michael from then Jamie Graham, and then Dean Vigas cannot win the championship, neither can Hicks, Best, Dean Wasaki, Lucas Rushton, Ellie or Yoshi. Constructors Championship though, everybody can still win it. Team Richie Corsa lead the way with 959 points to play for. They have a lead of 136 from the Team Dane Train. Stage 2 Motorsport are in 3rd place with Greasy Bandits P4. Forever Forward at P5 out of Team Tom and Team FBR. Cam Racing go above Roadrunner Bandits in P8. McLaren Racing down in 10th with Team Merlo 11th. Naval Racing Team 2 in 12th. Speedy Gonzalez from Greasy Bandits Jr. and the Wind Up Motorsport P15. That is all she wrote for the tables as Gary Clobble goes out there and puts it on provisional pole by 0.2 of a second. Dan.
Yep, pole position for the Porsche driver at the minute. A good lap time to start off with. With these darker conditions at the minute, I'm possibly going to be saying that we're looking at possibly a mid 31. I don't think we're going to get in the 30s in Pro-Am, but 29 is definitely not a chance either. But nonetheless, it's going to be an interesting qualifying session. As I said earlier on, Matt, that Porsche looks strong around here.
Yeah, it looks a lot better around here, doesn't it, than what we saw at Catalonia, and it's the BMW that looks the weaker of the cars as qualifying lap times come in. Good evening to Peaceful Stepdad and that of Old Sim Race from Paul Williams, who was complimenting themselves on a battle. Old Sim Race has never had to work so hard for a P19, he says. And Mike, Richie said he could get into the 30s. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't show it now. He has kind of been saying a lot this week about the lap times he can put in.
Yeah, he has indeed. It's now time to put his money where his mouth is, and obviously the session is a lot different to what they probably would have been testing this week anyway, because we've been testing for mainly the race, not really qualifying. Yeah, a lot of these guys will be wanting to try and get a decent lap time. And at the minute, he's actually under some little bit of pressure from Luke Saunders, but he's dropped it. So Richie will come off lightly with that one. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see the 30s. Not in these conditions. It's the track temperature may be warming up, but it's darker. The braking zones are different too. Stephen Millington's gone fastest with a 32.1, and Richie Michelle cannot respond to it. So Stephen Millington carrying on that pace he had earlier on.
Great from him. You know what would have been the case if Millington and Ramsell had done the full season, because they've been absolutely lightning fast since joining. As Robert Ramsell now goes and puts it into P4, they've been fantastic to watch. At the moment, the 999 is coming back round off the Jackal that was in the BMW last season. Dennis Hansen is now up into P4. A few more times coming on to the board. John Gooday yet to get one on the board. We'll pick him up coming through the final corner now. The Jackal did improve at P15. DJ Phil down in 16th. So it is only Jamie who's not set a lap time yet, and Playerman. Jamie, first podium for him. Great to see. What were the other milestones that we need to keep our eyes out on? Aston didn't get a podium. McLaren didn't win the race and Mercedes didn't either. So still a lot of things that can happen there. But yeah, great start. John Gooday still not got a lap time on the board. And Dan, these track limits around here, they're going to hurt you in this qualifying session.
Yeah, very much so. And again, just a reminder as well that these guys are going to be pushing the limits, not just in that first sprint race, but they're pushing the limits again here once again. So once they push these track limits, they're going to get used to doing that consistently. As Dennis Hansen now crosses, someone recently, Mirko Ricci goes up to P6. As soon as they keep pushing these limits, they're going to end up getting used to it and then possibly end up bringing it in the race. So I really do think we might be seeing some drive-throughs later on.
Cass Brawley moves up the order. Brian Craig moves up into P7. The 93 is coming towards the line. Millington's found another 6/10 somewhere. Richie Michelle can only go a 10th off the back of him. The 63 of Old Sim Racer is now coming down towards the line before we can turn to the 105 then of that of Rob Smith. Does he improve on his lap? He does. Moves up into 14th place. Good for him. The 666 is now coming to the line. That is Dennis Hansen. 8/10 off the pole. 7/10 off the back of Richie Michelle. Only finds a 10th there, so not the best of laps for him. DJ Phil is now coming to the line. 4.2 off of that pole. The Jackal is just there. Francisco Gomez, no pace from him really tonight either. He's struggling as well.
Yeah, he is a little bit, and he's struggling just for overall pace. Sam, meanwhile, goes up to P5 on his latest lap, and we'll see what the Jackal can do in that Porsche. Obviously, a lot of the time is practice just getting the setup and getting something dialed in. I'm on board with Player Man, who appears not to have his lights on, but the Player Man exits the final corner and heading towards the start-finish line, currently sat in 19th place position in the Porsche. What can he do? He goes up to 15th. Good lap time from him.
Not a bad lap. Mirko Ritchie's now coming out to the final corner, and let's see what he can do. He's currently a second off the time at the moment. He's P7, crosses the line now, stays where he was. The 59 will be next. That is Stephen Millington, who has currently got, I think that's Casper Olin right up behind him. But Millington, well, he's got some pace here, and he's showing what he can do now in qualifying, and this is brilliant to see. Towards the line he comes now. Does he find an improvement? No, he doesn't, not this time around. What about Richie Michel? Did he find any time? He did. He managed to find enough to go 4/10 quicker on the pole. Robert Smith now pops it up in towards P3. So a good lap time from him there. The number 99 hasn't yet set a lap time. That is Monkey Boy. Towards the line he comes now. He's down in 27th and last. To the line he crosses now and stays 27th and last. Well, we've only got 6 minutes left. We've nearly had half of this qualifying. And this stand is I think, one of the fantastic features that we're seeing in the GT4s this season. That Q2 and Q3, the 5 minutes, you've got to nail it, because you're only possibly going to get one chance depending on if you make a mistake, and you've got to make sure that one lap counts.
Yeah, it's that one-shot qualifying, isn't it? It's just all that pressure putting down on that one lap that you need to produce, and if you can't produce it, then you might as well just go home. As John Goudet improves and goes to 16th place position, as we see another car coming to the line. I believe it was Best, and no improvement from him.
4:18, Player Man towards the line now. He crosses it, stays in 18th place. Next up will be the 32 of Mirko Ritchie, who's down in 8th now and was a second behind the leader last time round. He's now 1.5 seconds, moved himself up to 6th, finds a couple of tenths there, so not bad for him. What about Millington now? He's not under pressure from Casper Olin. Has he got anything left in the tank? Is there any more that he can give? Dan, you race the GT3, you obviously do this qualifying format each week. What is the sort of bonus here? Do you kind of pit halfway through that session, maybe put a fresh set of boots on, lower that fuel a little bit, have a fresh set to attack at?
Well, there's many different ways you can go at it. Robert Smith, meanwhile, goes to P3. Jamie's currently P4. There's many different ways of approaching it. You can just load up your car with fuel if you feel like you've got enough pace in the car. I tend to at least run it for 3 to 4 laps because I tend to find more pace in the tyres after they've been worn in. Some people find them straight away and instantly find the pace, while others tend to just build the tyre pressures and temperatures up and really deliver the lap then. So usually you find most people put a banker, like myself, would get a lap time on the board anyway, and then on that's when you start to build the confidence and start pushing a little bit harder. Plus also with that, the track will be rubbed in more grip. As Luke Saunders now goes to P3, the track is getting quicker.
Track is getting quicker. Luke Saunders moves up the order there then to within a second. The 79 of Ian Best moves up to 23rd, to a decent lap from him.
Goes third.
It's only Monkey Boy now, by the way, who's not yet got a lap time on the board, so he really needs to get a lap time in here. She had decent pace before contact with Clarball earlier on in the first race, so really needs to put that lap together. And difficult place. We head to Suzuka next week, so you go from one circuit to another, and Suzuka, Dan, equally as tricky, middle of the day, and we know what Japan can be like at this time of the year. I know we keep saying week in, week out that threat of rain's going to be lurking, but there's 3 tracks on the calendar that's left with Suzuka and the 2 tracks in the United Kingdom that could really pose a threat of rain. Suzuka without rain is difficult enough.
Yeah, definitely indeed, and it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on the weather for Suzuka. But like I said, anything can happen at Suzuka. It's the land of the rising sun, and usually the greats end up producing the best laps and the best races from Suzuka. I mean, Fury back all those times ago, defending from myself, and Peaceful Explosion was a mighty drive from him, and in the end he lost out to Peaceful. I think it was the last time Peaceful's had a race. It was a race win in GT4s, although he might have won in the GT3s.
He won in GT3s, but I think it was due to penalty, whereas this was an outright race win on the circuit. So it was a magical night. Remember that even Daz Automatic at one stage was in the fight. DJ Phil crosses the line, stays 26th place, 32 over the next one.
He did get a lap time on the board, by the way.
Did he?
He did, yes. I don't know where he's gone, though. He is 16th.
Oh, there we go. So a good lap time as well, or a decent lap time. I tell you what, Dan, you look at from 8th down to that of 20th. They're separated by a second, just over a second. Big group of cars there, separated by not a lot.
Yeah, definitely so. And even the guys like at the top, they're not massively far ahead. Obviously, Richie Michelle and Stephen Millington seem to be having the pace at the minute, but they're not that far away. A 31.3, you know, compared further down, all these lap times are doable for these guys. They can get in the mid 31s.
Good evening to Fury's granddad and to NLR Andy, who drives the Ginetta in the GT4s last night. And here comes Justin Winter to the line. He seemed to be following Richie Michelle through in that first race. Crosses the line now. No improvement, though. The 99 is next up to the line, and that is Monkey Boy once again. Does he find any improvement? Has he found any more time? He does. Moves up to 15th place. Finds 0.2 of a second. The 666 would be the next one there, then. That is Dennis Hansen. Quite a bit off of Richie Michelle, though. 1.1 seconds between himself and Richie Michelle. That's a big margin at the moment.
He's had a quiet night, to be fair. He's not really looked like the form that he had at Catalonia.
Yeah.
And I think that's possibly the McLaren just maybe struggling around here. Jamie seems to be the leading McLaren at the minute as Dennis Hansen comes to the line. And again, no improvement on that lap time.
Just wondering if the tyres that people have had on maybe from the start are just dying a little bit, or not dying, but not allowing them to find any improvements. Gary Clarball, though, goes second place, so maybe I'm talking absolute rubbish as Gary Clarball moves within a 10th now of Richie Michelle. The 32's down the order. That is Mirko Ricci. He's just behind Argent by a couple of hundredths of a second here. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do.
Stephen Millington now coming into the final few corners here. He's going to get one more lap to have a go at this. And he's run a little bit wide on the final corner. That's not just going to compromise this run, but also the next one. And he's bailed, I think. Yeah, he is bailing. He's done. So Stephen Millington can't deny Richie Michelle pole. Maybe Gary Clarball can, or even Luke Saunders, who's been looking quite competitive. He's currently P4 at the minute. He's into the final corner. Can he get a good slingshot out of the final corner? Just ahead of him is a Ferrari coming to the line, and there's no improvement from the Ferrari. But it is Luke Saunders now to the line, and no improvement either.
No improvement there. Francisco, no improvement from him. He stays down in 15th place. Who's coming around the final couple of corners now? The 666 to Dennis Hansen, which is now 10th place. Good evening, Max Mulder. Hope you're well, buddy. I hope you're enjoying the new job. There's a few drivers now returning to the pit lane. Here comes Dennis Hansen, though, round to final corner. 1.1 seconds off of the leader at the moment.
Gary Clarball's done.
Right.
He's in the wall. He's done.
Dennis Hansen at the very end, by the way, P5. So Gary Clarball done. Two other drivers coming around the final corner now are on invalidated laps. This looks like it's going the way of Richie Michelle, Dan.
It is indeed. Can he extend that gap any longer? He gets it in another 10th there and extends the gap to himself and Gary Clarball. But Gary Clarball's done. Robert Smith did jump Luke Saunders and Dennis Hansen right at the very end there. Luke Saunders, though, still on a lap, as is Dennis Hansen, but he'll be done for the session. Coming to the line now, Mirko Ricci goes up to 6th now and drops Dennis Hansen further down. That's what he needs from his fellow teammate to drop his championship rival further down. Justin Winter, meanwhile, next on the lap.
And when you look at Casper Olin, Dan, who is not out there improving, he's down in 21st. So as well for the Constructors' Championship, it's great guns at the moment.
Yeah, definitely, indeed. And he's... it's exactly what they need, and Justin Winter runs wide. He's coming to the line. Is he going to get a decent lap time on it? But he's going to stick with it. He improves, but not enough in positions. Yeah, it's just a little lacklustre there from Dennis Hansen tonight. Not really seeing much of him. Monkey Boy to the line. He improves, but doesn't move up another position. That was a big climb there, though. Who was that? I think that was Francisco, who's gone up to 9th place. So a heck of a climb from him. The 52 is coming to the line. That is Kieran Argent. Obviously, incident in race 1. Crosses the line now. Does he improve? No, he does not. So Dan, Richie Michelle once again there takes that pole position, and that's just another point to add to his impressive championship run so far. It is indeed, but he's got a couple of fast drivers behind him who aren't going to be too worried about his championship. They're going to be wanting a race win, especially the likes of Gary Clarball, for example, and Stephen Millington just carrying on his momentum. Can he do anything about the guys in front? Max Mulder in the chat says, job is quite nice, but I got a lot of night shifts. That's killing me, kinda. Well, you got to get that dough, my friend. Got to get that dough. Do we like Valencia, Matthew?
No. Next question. It's a bike circuit. I don't like bikes. So I just no. It's I don't know. It's just not for me. I'm not a fan of it.
This every conversation we have like this, ladies and gentlemen, it is also open to the floor as well. So you're all more than welcome to get involved in the chat. What is your opinions on Valencia? Do you like this circuit? And I know you like Matt and just purely hate bikes and think no, it's not.
I mean, no, I hate next week's circuit as well. You know, and then no, I hate Kota. You know, so the next three are. Yeah,
you're going to have some really great GT4 races soon, aren't you?
They're one of them. You know, I don't like them, but they bring good entertainment. You know, I managed to do this last season with SimPlay. I did a Danish league, a Norwegian league commentary a few months ago on the PC, and they raced a good race around here. It was brilliant entertainment. Provides I don't like the track, but being sat in the commentary box, there's always a bit of good. There's always good racing around here. There's always good entertainment around here.
Yeah, indeed, and I think that's. I didn't mean just in general as in driving, but in general as a circuit. But of course, you're still going by that it's a bike circuit. You're not a massive fan of bike circuits in general. I mean, I was just thinking of Bruno, for example. You didn't like that one either.
No, couldn't stand that.
Tips in the chat saying I love it. And Max Moore says, "Hey, you should go and like bikes. Bikes, best thing ever." I don't like this circuit.
I just
Phil
can't.
Doesn't like it. Phil, you got to focus on driving, Mesh.
It's not that I dislike bikes, Max. I can't get it into them. Is more the problem.
Excuse me.
Crashes are spectacular, but I can't get in. It's like I can't get into Formula E. There's just something about the racing that I don't know. it's just not for me. It's just not my cup of tea.
I don't think I've actually ever met anyone who's been a massive fan of Formula E, so I can get that.
No, but it's you know, it's the same with bikes for me as Formula E is. I just don't. There's no feeling for it. Watch the GTEs. I think, oh, these are good touring cars. Yeah, WEC, IMSA. Yeah, great. F1. Slowly losing interest in F1. You know, IndyCar. You've started. Since I've known you, I've watched IndyCar more since knowing you, with you being a fan of it. I've started to really enjoy IndyCar races more now, and you know, I'm just enjoying other things. Bikes, just still. I've watched them several times, but not a fan.
I mean, I'm not the biggest MotoGP fan, nor the Isle of Man TT. I've massive respect for those guys. That is just on the edge of lunacy. That's just ridiculous and spectacular to watch indeed. But regarding bikes, the only thing I really find fascinating is motocross freestyle. Really, is the only real bikes I can get into. What they can do on a motorbike, considering the weight of these things, is phenomenal. But I do have to like bikes though, because they produce some tracks that I seem to quite enjoy and do well at. So obviously this seems to be the one I seem to struggle the most at, to be fair.
Well, we'll see what happens tomorrow night, won't we? You know. Although, to be fair, if I remember rightly, last season, Ford Mustang's first win was Kieran O'Reilly around here, if I'm correct, in Pro.
Well, Skunky is the most successful around here.
There we go then.
So,
there we go then. So that's not what you want to hear.
Max Moore says you go to the British Superbike weekend. No assist on those bikes, and it's just a super nice paddock and enjoy 101%.
Kieran goes to the British Superbikes. He goes to Donington Park and then comes down and we play tennis. So maybe Max, I'll check out a bit of a British Superbike weekend. Maybe I'll have to. We're getting ready to go here though at Valencia, the Circuit Ricardo Tormo, which obviously would have held the MotoGP last weekend, but due to the floods in Valencia, it was held at Catalonia, and we are, for the final time tonight, green and go, and Richie Michel getting that good start that he required to not be under pressure from Gary Clarbel into turn one, and already Gary Clarbel as well getting a pretty decent start. It's Millington that's coming under massive pressure, and Mirko has absolutely speared Robert Smith in the back. Robert manages to keep it going, but Mirko Richie well off and down the order, and that is going to hurt his chances of a good result in this one. But it's Richie Michel from Gary Clarbel, Steve Millington from Robert Smith. Then it is Jamie and Luke Saunders going side by side, and Jamie getting the move done on Luke Saunders, and Dennis Hansen also fancying the look on Francisco, and up the inside of Luke Saunders. That is a great move from the McLaren.
It is indeed, and at the minute a lot of the guys are just trying to feed their way through. Paul Williams has dropped to the back of the pack. He's come off the worst out of everyone in that. Not even Mirko Richie's managed to come out of that better, and the Jackal towards the back of the pack as well, I believe. Yeah, it is the Jackal towards the back, so not the best start for them. Richie Michelle got the jump, but Gary Clarball now leads this race, but Richie Michelle's back up the inside, and Richie Michelle trying to retain his lead, but Gary Clarball's going to fight him hard, and I did say Clarball's got nothing to lose. He wants a race win, and Richie Michelle's gone wide. Stephen Millington up the inside, and here comes Robert Smith, your championship contender, trying to hunt down his championship rival, but Stephen Millington splitting him at the minute. Richie Michelle under pressure at the early start of this race.
There was a bit of hip and shoulder there from Gary Clarball and Richie Michelle coming through the two right-handers as they went into them. Then Robert Smith having a look now on Stephen Millington, so what damage that's possibly gave Richie Michelle, we'll wait and see. As down the start straight they come, Dennis Hansen's now making a move on Jamie. Side by side, is that Jamie's been in the thick of some action tonight. Luke Saunders ahead and of Justin Winter. Down the start straight they come. Mirko Ritchie's looking on a move on the BMW of what looks to be Sam further back. Hansen, turned into the pit wall. That looks reminiscent of Alexis I saw on Sunday do a similar thing down the start straight and pull back to the racing line when there's a car already there, as Jamie manages to come away with it pretty scot-free. But Richie Michelle now once again right onto the rear of Gary Clarball in towards the end of the first sector. Millington sticking with them, just starting to pull away a little bit from Rob Smith. This is on board with Richie Michelle. This is the jaw action you can see from that Lamborghini with then that of Gary Clarball, who would love a race win. Like Dan says, gloves off with him. He has nothing to lose, Dan, in this race tonight.
Yeah, he has got nothing to lose. He's going to transcend it. The only thing that is going to hamper him is the straight line advantage of that Porsche. It is going to hurt him. So he's got the traction, he's got the grip. He just needs to nail the exits of corners and he'll make sure he stays in front. And he's got to try and use the cars around him. Maybe use Stephen Millington to back him up into the clutches of him and try and get a fight going on so he can try and extend that gap. But Dennis Hansen's championship fight after a brilliant Barcelona has just gone down the drain massively, as he now is got going once again, but he is in a massive state at the back.
Yeah, he's not going to be happy in that car. Justin Winters now on the back of Jamie, having a look towards him. There's Robert Ramsell as well, having a look up the inside of Luke Saunders on his 50th race for Luke. Good run out the corner for Justin Winter. He's tucked back in behind Jamie. Ramsell also didn't get the move done on Luke Saunders. Dropped down the pack a little bit more. There's a few of the other guys coming down the pack. Where did Mirko Ritchie go? Because he was side by side a little earlier. He's up into 11th place. This is Argent trying to get past Ian Best. Down the start straight they come. Best defending that inside line. Argent's going to go to the outside of turn one. Best comes back across for the racing line. And they all get through nice and easy. With old Sim Racer watching on in the background. Monkey Boy's dropped down to 21st. DJ Phil's just been passed by Cranky Duckhead. And Dennis Hansen has had no choice but to pit.
Gary Clarball's lost the race lead. Richie Michelle sent it up the inside of him into the middle sector, and he's lost that position. So now can Richie Michelle disappear? He's got a little bit of a twitch on, and that's going to allow Gary Clarball once again a little bit of momentum, but anything, it held him up, and now he can't use that momentum as they go down in towards the latter part of the second sector. And Stephen Millington now attacking the Porsche.
I don't know if that's a twitch. I don't know if that's lag for Richie Michelle, to be fair to you. It keeps seeming to just twitch every now and again. But Gary Clarball being dropped, like you say, by Richie Michelle a little bit. Stephen Millington now putting that pressure on, dropping back to Justin Winter, still sat behind Jamie. We've got Robert Ramsell still sat. In fact, no, he's now behind the old Sim Racer. So old Sim Racer's managed to get past Robert Ramsell at some point this lap. Sam's on the back of Mirko Ritchie still here. And if we drop down a little further, Casper Olin with Playerman. That's not what the Dane Train team need now, especially with Dennis Hansen in the pits and probably going a lap down. Here's John Gooday. Francisco's got some heavy damage on the front of his BMW, so John will be looking to try and get past him. Monkey Boy looking to get up the inside of Best, and they've both come together. Monkey Boy manages to slide it across the grass. It's pointing in the right direction, but he loses 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5 of Paul Williams. And Monkey Boy again in the wars and dropping down the order.
He is indeed. Meanwhile, Richie Michelle now starting to extend that gap as best he can. Gary Clarball trying to stick with him as well. But Richie Michelle now his own enemy is going to be himself. He needs to make sure he doesn't abuse those track limits and stay within the white lines, or in this case the curbs. And hopefully he can extend the gap and try and extend that championship lead, as Robert Smith is trying everything he can, but he's got two very fast cars in front of him, with Gary Clarball and Stephen Millington in front. Jamie's sticking to the back of him quite well as well. So it's all relatively close still at the minute, as Robert Ramsell also doing the job he needs to do for Cam Racing.
Yep, doing a good job. The Cam Racing boys are. Could you imagine what they'd be doing if Cam Racing had been in this championship from the get-go? That'd be absolutely fantastic. They're up to 8th and only some 384 points behind Team Richie Corson. Still over 900 points left to score, so chance of maybe closing that gap. A good week here and there, a bad week for the Richie Corse team here and there, and that'll put them in some strife over the Cam Racing boys for sure, as Justin Winter has a look to the inside of the final corner on Jamie, but backs out of that and thinks better of it. Mirko Ritchie's gaining on the back of Robert Ramsell now. Mirko Ritchie's really impressed me this season as he has a big slide out the final corner. Really impressed me this season has Mirko Ritchie. He's really been, he's really improved. We've seen him last couple of seasons not look as great as he has done this year, and testament to the work he's put in. Yeah,
possibly that Lamborghini benefiting from that much more car that suits his driving style, possibly. Yeah. And this is the situation he's ended up in. So possibly that is a testament to the Lamborghini, if anything, and just adapted to the driving style of that.
Francisco's just missed turn 2 and clipped through that of John Gooday then as he missed the corner, and then clipped Lando Norris, and now Lando Norris is on the back of John Gooday. So Francisco there with front end damage, missing the corner, hitting the side of John Gooday. That's not going to have pleased the Mercedes driver, and now Lando Norris is there to try and capitalise as well. Just dropping back down to Rob Smith. He's got Argent looking up the inside of him through the long right hand bend up towards the left hander. There you go. Cranky Duckhead's looking for a move up the inside of the both of them. Turns in the inside of Argent. They both run deep, and Cranky Duckhead in his Honda, maybe thanking his mama for the carrots as he comes up through the inside. He now comes through the little left hand kink. Now he's going to have that little speed before braking heavy into the hairpin. Manages to get the 2 places. Argent also gets past Rob Smith, and Monkey Boy may fancy a piece of this action as well, as all 4 of them are side by side, 2 by 2. There you go. And they all come through relatively safe and clean. Monkey Boy still attacking this of Rob Smith, though. This is a great fight.
It is a great fight to watch, and Monkey Boy can't quite get the job done on the old Ferrari at the minute. But Argent having a moment once again. Let's get out Cranky Duckhead and Rob Smith to come around the outside. Honda, Ferrari and BMW all going at it, with Mercedes in the background and McLaren. So 5 different manufacturers battling it out at the minute, and Argent having to defend for his life at this stage.
6 manufacturers down. There's a Porsche right on the back of Paul Williams, so interesting to see. There's a couple of BMWs in there as well, and Cranky Duckhead still trying to get past Argent. They're all trying to gain on Best as well. Down the start straight they come. Cranky having a look up the inside on Kieran Argent at the moment. This is looking on board with Cranky Duckhead then in that Honda, the NSX. Pretty decent car. To the outside of turn 2 he goes. Is that going to open up an opportunity for somebody else? No, it doesn't, but he goes a little wide on exit, and Rob Smith, he will now go through. Monkey Boy just losing out here a little bit. He's got Paul Williams, Jekyll and Steve Beck, and nearly DJ Phil. So what a train of cars here. Meanwhile out front, Richie Michelle has dropped Gary Clauble. That is over 2 seconds, nearly 3 seconds now. Then it's Millington from Rob Smith, with Jamie still from Justin Winter, Luke Saunders from Old Sim Racer, with Ramsell, Richie, Sam, Craig on the back of them. Big jump back to Casper Olin with John Gooday and Playerman, then Lando Norris and Francisco Gomez, and then it's up to huge train from Ian Best down as Rob Smith now goes deep, and Cranky's going to come back up the inside.
Yeah, there's also another big train forming of Luke Saunders. He's carrying a cluster of cars. He's got Old Sim Racer, Robert Ramsell and Mirko Ritchie, with Sam and Brian Craig not too far behind them. Casper Olin really defending heavy from John Gooday as they go into the final corner. John Gooday is going to try and go around the outside, and fair play to Casper Olin. He didn't need to give him the racing room, and he did, and now they're going to go side by side as the Mercedes should have the grunt in a straight line, and he will get it done before turn 1, and there you go. Job done for John Gooday. He is now up into 13th place position.
Yeah, good move that from John really in the Mercedes, a car that he's just lost a bit of faith in this season with that bop playing its ways. So good move from him. Kieran's pass out of Best and has started to pull away now. Cranky's on the rear of Best as we're going to go back forward. Casper Olin now under pressure from Playerman, so he's coming under immense pressure from all these cars, and the Dane train's not scoring very well. This is going to massively help out the Team Richie Corse team. Steve Millington for Ram Racing, though, he's going to want to get past Gary Clauble and just help out Cam Racing even more as well, because they, I'll tell you what, in that constructors fight, could go ahead of FBR and be 7th place come the end of tonight. It's been a real good night for them.
It has indeed, and they just got to keep their composure at the minute and focus. Oh, I'm just watching Jamie, and he's had a moment, and that's allowed Justin Winter to slither up the inside in his Ferrari. Probably did it sideways like he usually does, but Justin Winter up another position, and Luke Saunders still trying to hold off the 2 Ferraris behind him.
Yeah, he's still trying to hold off the 2 Ferraris behind him. It's been a good fight for Luke Saunders. The sim racer goes left and right, comes back to have a look up the inside on the left. Now Ramsell's going to have a look on the outside of that of Old Sim Racer. That's really put him into the path of Old Sim Racer there, just as he checked up before the corner, and that's now put him into this little train of cars, which has allowed Mirko Ricci to get on the back. Brian Craig is also having a look at the rear then of that of Sam in the McLaren. If we drop back to John Goodate, he's got Casper Olin, he's then got Lando Norris, he's then got Francisco Gomez and that of Playerman, and Argent now has pulled away from Best, and Best is now the train back here. And I'm not sure what has happened to the cranky duckhead, but he's lost out massively. He's lost out big time. He's 13 seconds behind DJ Phil.
Oh, Mirko Ricci's made contact with Robert Ramsell. He has made contact with him, and he's now facing the wrong way. He's just as he manages to catch the cars in front, he's gone off and then caused a trigger of incidences. Sam and Brian Craig had to take evading action because he was slap bang in the middle of the circuit, and Mirko Ricci has managed to get going. But, oh no, he hasn't. He's still off at the minute.
No, he's just caught Casper Olin down there. Casper Olin and John was coming through. Now Casper's caught Playerman and Francisco. So not sure what's happening here at the moment, but Francisco's now been turned around by Casper Olin. Richie was rejoining, and Casper Olin left him just enough of a width on the inside line. And Richie seemed like he just kind of didn't turn in as normal, whether that was damage to the car or what. But he clipped Casper Olin, put Casper Olin wide. Casper Olin, as he rejoins, clips the back of Playerman. And then it's into the side of Francisco, and both of them two went around. So it's absolute chaos there. But what a shame for that of Robert Ramsell, as he's dropped down now to P9, still in that top 10. John Goodale, though, Dan, at the moment, he didn't qualify massively strong. He's just coming through the field.
Yeah, he's just taking his time bit by bit. He's got a bit of a gap to catch to Brian Craig, though, so I think he's going to end up in a little bit of a lull at the moment. But Old Sim Racer closer than ever to Luke Saunders. And again, Robert Smith, another one who's putting pressure on the back of Stephen Millington. And Luke Saunders gets a drive through.
Wow, that's early.
Mike in the chat complaining about track limits. Well, he can shut up now, because you can see drive-throughs will be applied. I'm getting sick and tired about people moaning about track limits, because they are there, they are enforced, and Luke Saunders has proved it.
Luke Saunders has proved it. Yeah, Mike, shut up. Well, that's early as well, Dan. That is very early. That's shorter than the sprint race.
Yeah, definitely. And Luke Saunders is probably sitting there going, shouldn't we take the track limits at turn 1?
Yeah, should take the track limits at turn 1. That's all Luke Saunders will have to say of that. That's going to ruin his night on his 50th race here. He's got Old Sim Racer still right behind him, still hassling him here. He's obviously got 3 laps to do that drive-through penalty. Oh, Monkey Boy's around again just as we change to him in that battle at the back. Monkey Boy is once again off the circuit. He's got an advertising board that's coming with him, and back on he comes. And I tell you what, I'm enjoying this fight. BMW, McLaren, Porsche, Ferrari, old Ferrari as well, and new Ferrari, and Mercedes. What a little fight this is at the back. Robert Smith now is on the back of Millington, and Gary Clauble hasn't gained on Michelle, but has dropped them two. So that Porsche just starting to come into its own.
Yeah, Richie Michelle's not dropping Clauble quickly. It's a couple of tenths a lap, but it is enough to start, being comfortable, as Old Sim Racer and Robert Ramsell are going side by side. Old Sim Racer up the inside, and I think he holds the position. I'm not sure. As Robert Ramsell's back up the inside, and they make contact. Yeah,
Robert Ramsell's coming back at Old Sim Racer, I think, after being hit by Mirko Ricci. Not quite sure, but Luke Saunders was in the pits. That's why I've got a bit confused there, because Luke Saunders in for his drive-through that has been cleared. And where has he fed out? Oh, just ahead of this fight between all the cars at the back. He's ahead of Best. He's ahead of Stephen Beck. He's just behind Playerman, so he's 17th place.
Yeah, not my best for Luke Saunders, but there is the track limits being applied, and penalties will be addressed correctly. And down the order he goes. Gary Clauble, meanwhile, just no answer to Richie Michelle, who's put obviously the time and effort in.
Rob Smith just gone a little deep at the corner, hit Paul Williams. He's waited for Paul Williams to rejoin us. Paul's only lost to 2 places. Rob Smith loses a few more than that. But yeah, this fight back here is a real ding-dong at the moment. And Francisco's behind it all, as is Cranky Duckhead, Dennis Hansen. And now Monkey Boy is round again. I tell you, he had great race 1 pace till that incident with Gary Clarbell, but race 2, it is not working out for him at the moment.
No, it's not at this stage, but hopefully he can go to Suzuka feeling a little bit more confident. But Richie Michelle leading the way, 4.6 ahead of Gary Clarbell, who's another 2.4 ahead of Stephen Millington. And Robert Smith can't seem to do anything about that Ferrari at the minute.
Yeah, not impressed with the BMW this week, Dan. It just doesn't look like it's got a lot at all around here at this stage of the season,
isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it's meant to be. And I know the Bop is obviously going to play as the great equaliser around here, but Robert Smith is no slouch. We know. Well, neither Steve Millington, Gary Clarbell, or Richie Michelle. But I don't know. I don't feel like we've seen the best of the BMW. Obviously, tomorrow night. Hopefully, there isn't a BMW who's actually in Pro, is there? Oh, there's Machado and Vienna. We'll see what they can do tomorrow night, but I don't know, I've not been impressed. Cranky Duckhead is off big time coming up towards the final corner. I'm sure he's the number 31. Well, he is well off. Richie Michelle's about to lap Dennis Hansen. Dennis Hansen's already 2 laps behind the leader, so not good for him there.
No, not good for him. Someone who's having a quiet race tonight is Lando Norris, currently in 11th place. He's kind of been in no man's land, hasn't he? He obviously started from the back of the pack, but he's up into 11th, so he's managed to miss all the chaos.
Yeah, it seems to be having a bit of a night like John Gooday in this second race, although as I say that, John's dropped back down to 15th, but everything's happened around Lando. He started from the back with that qualifying ban, and he's come to the forefront.
Yeah, he has, and I think Lando... probably exactly where he can be. I don't think he can go any higher. The guys in front seem to have more pace in him at the minute, and the guys behind doesn't seem to be able to hunt him down. Meanwhile, Mirko Ritchie right on the rear wing of Casper Olin, and this is important because it is the Dane train versus the Ritchie Corsa teams championship, and at the minute, Mirko Ritchie's looking up the inside, and he'll get the job done.
Yep, nice little move that from Mirko Ritchie. Do you know, if I'm going to really be honest with you, I think I've got to start looking at Cam Racing. I know they're over 300 points behind, but I'd start to maybe just keep a close eye on what they're doing in the Constructors' Championship, because they are the ones at the moment that seem to be, looking the more threatening. They're both scoring solid points, and once again here, Robert Ramsell up to 7th, Steve Millington running P3 still. They're once again going to take a good haul of points in this race. Robert Smith still close to the back of that of Millington, just dropping back down the order to Playerman, who's got Luke Saunders with him after that drive-through. But Ian Best still managing to keep Jackal and everybody behind him at the moment, and the Jackal is right with Ian Best as well. He is doing a great job defensively. He's lost the rear.
Commentator's curse kicked in right there, Matthew.
Yeah, I apologise to Best there. Paul Williams got alongside the Jackal as a result of that. You've got Francisco with big damage there with Rob Smith. Jackal and Paul Williams, though, still side by side. As in the background, you see Monkey Boy, Steve Beck, and then that of DJ Phil, as well as Best. Paul Williams still on the outside here with Jackal. The long way around the hairpin. If he can keep a nose there, he'll have the inside line then for the double right-hander. He's kept more than a nose. He's kept the whole car. And there we go. Look, up the inside. Francisco might try and follow through. Can't do so, and now he's going to try and tuck underneath on the corner exit. Lovely move from Francisco there. Playerman's coming back to him though, because that damage on the front end of the BMW. Not really a place to go side by side, and that's why Playerman has to get out of it a lot more, and Rob Smith gets through.
Yes, indeed. Meanwhile, Richie Michelle has now lapped Dennis Hansen, and Dennis Hansen sitting on the back wing of that Lamborghini, probably absolutely kicking himself, probably thinking, I've had the pace to be here, but caught up in a couple of incidences by the looks of things, and he's now at the back of the pack. Meanwhile, Jackal's dropped down the order a little bit.
Yeah, Jackal has had a moment somewhere, and that's why he's now on the back of this pack here. I think he got caught up by the Ian Best spin, and that's why he's dropped behind this lot. Robert Smith, though, Dan, still pressurising the back of Millington. Not close enough to make a move, but it's in that awkward spot, isn't it? He's not close enough to make a move and look up the inside or go around the outside, whatever. But it's close enough that the pressure's there. One little slide from Millington, and Rob Smith could get that run.
Yeah, but Millington does not look phased at all.
No, he doesn't.
He does not. No, he's just absorbing that pressure.
Yeah, massively so then. So everybody coming through to start lap 13. Pit window will open in around about 3.5 minutes time. So good time for the drivers to start to come into the pits. Mirko Ricci now, Dad, he's on the back of Lando Norris. So the Lamborghini drivers going great guns around here. He's looking to the outside of the final corner. Going to try and tuck it up and under of Lando Norris. Oh, just had to back out of that before clipping the rear bumper of the McLaren driver. Down the start line they come. Mirko Ricci's looking racy, and we said about Lando having a good quiet race, moving up the order a little bit. He's gone defensive over Mirko, already towards turn 1. In they come. Mirko right around the outside, and I think he's going to get that job done. Lando's still there, and yet Mirko gets the move complete.
He does indeed.
And
Slowly
more
on his way
importantly
up.
for Mike as well, 2 wheels was still on the curb.
It was.
So
Mike can be happy.
we're in for it tomorrow night.
I don't care. I mean, the track limits are the track limits based on the game, and I think they're harsh enough as it is. I do not want to hear people moaning about track limits, because I think they're perfectly fair to this circuit. But either way, Richie Michel now starting to really gain an advantage. He's now 6.4 ahead of Gary Klarbel. Stephen Millington's just managing to match them, as Justin Winter out of nowhere has caught onto the back of Robert Smith.
Sorry,
Where's he come from?
Say that again, Dan. Apologies.
Robert Smith's under some massive pressure from Justin Winter.
He is. Apologies. Was just looking elsewhere at the moment. He has really caught up onto the back of
out of nowhere.
Robert Smith. Yeah. He's not. We've not really seen him be bringing that gap down. So it really is out of nowhere. And it's not like Millington's gone.
He's been around the outside.
That's a good move. Because now he's going to keep the car there for this left-hand kink. He's going to have the inside line there for the next 2 right-handers. And Justin Winter finds himself now into P4. His Ferrari's just come alight then here in this, I say second half of the race, but just towards the first half of the race being dumped. So Robert Smith moves down the order a little bit there. And is that BMW going through its little tricky window?
I don't think so. I just think Justin Winter has suddenly got a sudden form of pace and is on the move here. He's now catching onto the back of Stephen Millington. That was very easy on Robert Smith there. Maybe the BMW was struggling, but obviously now, because he's been fighting and he's lost time to him, it looks worse than it actually is. So let's see what you can do about Stephen Millington, because Robert Smith couldn't do anything about him. What can Justin Winter do now?
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes on that fight. Tips is saying leave the track limits till Kota. My God. The stupid thing here is turn 1 here has no track limits. The curb everywhere at Kota is track limits, and that's by just dropping 2 wheels over the outside of it.
Turn 1 does have track limits. It's just the way it's designed.
You've got to go very wide to find them. Is my point.
I mean, you got to go past the green AstroTurf. Yes. But again, it's the nature of this circuit, though. It's a bike circuit, so only bikes and F1 cars can really take that corner that fast. So I get why the track limits are lenient, but also I think it's fair. I mean, it's very easy to run over that green AstroTurf. I've done it.
I said to Gary last night, I said, Gary, everyone else is doing it, and he went, no, I will stay between the 2 white lines. And every time at turn 1, I ended up gapping him a couple of tenths, and he kept questioning why. There you go, Gary. So tomorrow night, use all the limits. That's what you need to be doing.
I know where to beat him now then.
If you're going to pass Gary, just round the outside turn 1. You know, all the green AstroTurf on the outside, boom. Well, there's a bit of a lull in the race. Let's mention our fantastic sponsors, Design Manchester, as there's another drive-through. That is Robert Ramsell. What a shame. The Ferrari driver.
What's this about track limits?
Yeah, turn 1, they're strict as hell. Hey. Robert Ramsell drive-through penalty. What a shame for him, because he's been having a good night so far as Robert Ramsell, and that's going to hurt him here. P9 at the moment. What a shame for him.
Track limits, my arse.
I blame Mike.
I blame the pair of you moaning. Just get on with it.
Simple thing.
Everyone else does it.
Blame John.
Simple thing. Hashtag reasons.
Hashtag reasons. Blame the wheel of names. That's who picked this circuit. Pit window is opened. Robert Ramsell isn't in for his pit stop. He's in for his drive-through. Oh, my God. There was nearly a Zolder moment.
Don't know what you're talking about. Cars are in the pit lane, and Robert Ramsell will have to obey to his drive-through first. But the handy thing about this is everyone else has to come into the pit lanes at this stage. So he can possibly... Brian Craig did something very strange there. I don't know if you saw that, but he as they're coming down pit lane, you got the fast lane on the left-hand side. He went around Old Sim Racer by the garages. As Brian Craig has gone green and he's on his way. Well, this is the other thing, Matt. Will people decide to change tyres? Old Sim Racer's in there for a while, so I'm thinking he's tyre changing.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's possibly tyre changing as well.
Mirko Ritchie.
Sorry, I've dropped my phone down the side of my chair and I'm trying to get it.
John Goudet ended up in reverse, so he ended up going backwards instead of forwards. But Richie Michelle leading the way at the minute. Gary Klarbel. So this is where Gary Klarbel could risk running no set of tyres. Just come in, pit and fuel and go again if he's gone for that option. Yep. Richie Michelle, meanwhile, has to think, well, obviously whatever strategy he's picked, he's stuck with it now.
Yeah.
As Robert Smith goes into turn one, as he's back onto the rear wing of Justin Winter, who's now caught onto the back of Stephen Millington. And what Matt was about to do in the chat was don't forget to have a look at our fantastic sponsors, Design Manchester, who produces a vinyl graphics and laser engraved gifts, mugs and printed clothing and much more, including SimPlay merchandise. And also wait there, have a look at Audio Sport, manufacturers of VW Transporter, T4 audio solutions and styling products over on www.audiosport.co.uk. Have a look on their Facebook link as well. If you do want to be a part of the action here at SimPlay Motorsport, then also head over to our Discord and the SimGrid, get yourself signed up, ready in the new year. And it's nice to see Beasley in the chat saying evening guys, and what's happening, Beasley? You sorted out that Xbox out yet? Because it's kind of lonely, me and Harris and the only Lexuses on the grid.
I hope he has, because it'll be great to see Beasley back on the grid. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting race if Beasley comes back, see what he can do. He'll obviously be starting by the front of the pack if he does come back this season. Justin Winter just losing out a little bit to Stephen Millington. A few more cars in the pits from the last time around. This is how quick Richie Michelle and the leaders are. Kieran Argent in the pits for a very long time. He's going to be jumped. Robert Ramsell's now done his stopped. I think Argent's changing tyres here, Dan. A lot of drivers going green behind him, and he's still in the pits. Luke Saunders has jumped him. Brian Craig has jumped him. Monkey Boy has jumped him. Unless he's had damage somewhere, but hard to tell.
Hard to tell. I'm surprised the leaders are not coming in. With the amount of cars that are in pit lane, Richie Michelle has had a lot of traffic to try and clear, and Gary Klarbel also, so they're kind of leveled out at the minute. Stephen Millington has opted to pit, so Justin Winter might be finally released and see what he can do, because clearly the BMW and the Ferrari of Justin Winter and Robert Smith couldn't do anything about Stephen Millington. Now they're opting to go for an overcut.
Problem is, though, Dan, is he's in that traffic as well, is Justin Winter. So probably that's why Stephen Millington's pitted. Millington's come out the pits. He's behind car 4 of Lando Norris. That's for position. But he's a couple of seconds behind Lando Norris, so he's got a clear track. You look at Justin Winter. Yeah, it's clear-ish, but he will gain onto the back of that of Mirko Ritchie for that for them positions at the moment. Also, what Dan forgot to mention was, don't forget while you're in the chat to hit that like button and the bell to be notified when we are live, as well as subscribing to the channel if you are new. Trying to get as close to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year and be really close to have a good kickstart this season. Justin Winter straddling the sausage curb at the chicane and nearly losing the rear. I say, actually, was he straddling it and made a mistake, or was that Winter doing Winter things?
God knows.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what, it definitely feels like Winter at the minute, as now Richie Michelle, Gary Klarbel and Justin Winter all now come into pit lane. Robert Smith, though, opting to stay out. He's going another lap, so we'll see how that benefits it. Now, what's going to happen with pit stops? Richie Michelle in. Is he going to just stop and go? That is the question. What is Gary Klarbel going to do? I'll keep an eye on them at the minute, but they're all in the pits at the moment. Gary Klarbel pretty much at pit exit.
I'm watching Stephen Millington, Dan. He's into the final corner. halfway through this race. They haven't gone green. Steve
Gary
Millington
Carball's gone
exits the final corner. I think Richie Michelle's possibly changing tyres or adding fuel. So Gary Clarball's jumped Richie Michelle.
Oh.
Gary Clarball's out the pits. Here comes Stephen Millington. Through he goes.
Justin Winter's gone green as well, so he's obviously I don't know what the strategy is from Richie Michelle, but I think at the minute he's going to put himself in a dangerous position. Yes, he's got fresh tyres, but there's a big gap to make. That is a big gap, and we saw earlier in the season how Robert Smith managed to do it through that way, and myself, an overtaker, had a massive gap to the hole at Bathurst and just couldn't do it in the end. And with all the traffic around as well, I think this is a big call from Richie Michelle.
It's a
and
huge
he's got
ask.
a very fast Justin Winter behind him.
It's a huge ask. He's got a very fast Justin Winter. He's got a player man that's in front of him. 4 positions. So if player man doesn't get out his way straight away, Richie Michelle's got to try and get through. Just looking down the order, Ian Best, everybody's pitted bar DJ Phil.
By the way, Skunky, I have seen your message, and not a chance. No way. Not a 29. And don't also get PN's comment, will be defending in the comms again, lol.
Deafened.
What, you're not, you're deaf? Oh, deafened. Ah, deafened. No, although I said defending. Deafened.
Yeah, deafened. I don't know why. What? I don't know if he was mentioning anything, but yeah, exactly. Exactly. Good evening to Alpin as well. Great win at the weekend in the Bathurst race. In the Bathurst 4L. Congratulations to JWB Sports Racing for their championship win in that one. And congratulations to the HDB Racing team for winning the Piston Cup.
Do you know the other risk I think that Richie Michelle has put himself in with this?
Completely ignored that.
I did completely. Yeah. What did you say?
That HTB won the Piston Cup.
Yeah, no one cares.
Yes. DJ Phil had a bit of a twitch there just as Richie Michelle was coming to lap him. And okay, right.
The other risk that Richie Michelle has put himself in, he's going to be pushing hard now, right? He's going to be pushing those track limits.
Yeah.
That's the big key. If he pushes one too far just to try and get another race win back under his belt, he's going to possibly open an opportunity for a drive-through. And we've seen 2 drivers already get a drive-through. Is he willing to take that risk? You know, if Gary Clarball wins the race and Stephen Millington takes second, what has he technically lost? Not a lot, really.
Well, this is it, isn't it? Also, just pointing out, Richie Michelle hasn't won a race since Monza, race 2. So it's been a while for him. Also, RB, congratulations on the wedding next week. Hope all goes well for you, buddy. And it is a shame to hear that you haven't got the funds at the moment due to the wedding to be able to get the game. Francisco Gomez back into the pit lane, not sure why. Top 2 in. So if we're looking at the moment, he's on the back of Playerman. So if Playerman doesn't pit here, which that'll be tight if he goes another lap. Rob Smith has, I'm assuming. Yeah, there we go. So he's not lost a massive amount because of Playerman there. But he is at least 11 seconds behind Millington. He's got to go, like you say, and just maybe push that car hard to get to the back of Steve Millington. It's one thing catching, it's another thing to pass. 10.3 seconds is that gap. Yeah, that's a big gap. And
it's another 4 seconds just to get to Gary Clarball, and Clarball will just be defending. And with all that going on, Robert Smith still hasn't pitted yet.
Yeah, he's got to come in this lap. And also, as well, by the way, the Jackal is in between him and Stephen Millington. So depending on where he catches the Jackal to put the lap on him, you know, the lapped cars are going to play their part. Yes, then that's the same for Steve Millington and Gary Clarball. But Millington's close to the back of a couple of cars, or gaining on the back of a couple of back markers, which then Richie's still got to clear. So
Casper Olin and Old Sim Racer are going at it. Old Sim Racer up the inside of turn 2, and job done. And Robert Ramsell's going to go up there with him as well. And the 2 Ferraris ganging up on the McLaren, and the McLaren losing out as Mirko Ricci sets his sights on Luke Saunders now. Mirko Ricci obviously recovering, as is Luke Saunders. Oh my God! Whoa!
Oh! Yeah, I think Saunders was hanging on to that, and as he's hanging on to it, I think Richie's just clipped the back of him. No fault to Richie's there at all. He just clipped a car that was all over the place on the rear, and yeah, there it goes. And Luke Saunders loses the place. Mirko goes through, dropping down to Monkey Boy on the back of Steve Peck. Dennis Hansen is now on the same lap, I believe, as Francisco Gomez, and that of maybe Earbest, Cranky Duckhead, and DJ Phil Green. Pit window is closed. Robert Smith did do his stop. Robert Smith has jumped Richie Michelle.
Yeah. This is for the championship. This is big. Robert Smith now ahead of him, and he's going to defend for his life. This is going to give Stephen Millington a little bit of breath of relief.
Oh, massively.
But Robert Smith is going to want to hold on to that position as long as he possibly can. Richie Michelle choosing to change tyre. So this is what we're going to see now as another drive-through has been popped up. That is Cranky Duckhead.
Yeah, Cranky Duckhead drive-through penalty. Richie Michelle then 3 seconds off the back that of Millington, and look, off the back of Robert Smith, and Robert Smith has just that player man coming through this trickier sector of the circuit where he's not going to lose now a lot of time. Clawball is now 5 seconds up the road from Millington, and Richie Michelle is some 8, maybe 9 seconds behind that of Millington. So this is tough to ask, but like you say, it's not about what Millington's doing, it's about now Robert Smith. What can Robert Smith do?
Yeah, it is indeed, and Robert Smith is he's going to have to make that the widest BMW he possibly can. But Richie Michelle will have the pace, but we're starting to get affected by the dirty air as well, and I just think this has just been a bad call. Tyre change, all you had to do was nurse the car home. That's all you had to do. He had the confidence, he had the grip. I think this is a risk that he didn't need to take.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. To be honest, Dan, I think it is a risk that he didn't need to take, and he could control the race with the gap he had out front. You know, if them tyres were starting to go after half an hour, well, these tyres are going to start to go at the end of the race, especially even more because he's pushing harder to get that done. Still that drive-through for Cranky Duck, and he's got 2 laps to get that one done. It's going to be interesting, though. 3.6 to Robert Smith. That BMW seems to come better as the race goes on. It's not been great today, but let's see what the BMW can do. But I think I think that's gone the way of Gary Clawball for a potential race win here, because that could be huge for the Porsche driver.
Yeah, and I think the Porsche would be genuinely a little bit kinder on his tyres as well. Richie Michelle still hasn't cleared Jackal. He hasn't got onto the back of him just yet. So, yes, Jackal will have to obey to blue flags, but still got to get that job done. He still needs to get past that car, and it's going to hurt his tyres following the back of it.
It is. He probably just got held a little bit through that corner. Jackal moved straight out the way, so Richie Michelle is now through. But he still probably lost a little bit coming through this section of the circuit. But you're right, Dan. It's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? Because Richie Michelle here, whatever he did he need to do it? That's what we've got to ask ourselves. If we look back to Robert Smith now, the traffic is just ahead of Robert Smith. In fact, the traffic is just now ahead of that of Stephen Millington, and it is Rob Smith and Dennis Hansen who is the traffic. Dennis Hansen obviously a lap down to Rob Smith as well. So this is going to be interesting. Battle further down the path though. Monkey Boy trying to gain onto the back of that of Stephen Beck for position. Bit of an up and down night for Monkey Boy in this race. So he'll be looking to have a bit of a comeback drive here and maybe pick up a few places as the race comes towards an end.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Justin Winter has had no answer to Richie Michelle. No. They came out nose to tail, and Richie Michelle just dropped him. So, yeah, we'll see how that all unfolds as John Goudet is now starting to get some pressure from Mirko Richie. So, yeah.
No. Mike's comment.
What?
If Gary wins tonight, does that mean the other Gary will win tomorrow? Not a chance. So I love Gary Leach to bits, but I just can't see it. Skunky, Dan, Harris, McGowan. Can't see Gary doing it.
I'm not winning tomorrow.
I still think you've got more chance than Gary. As Mirko Richie's going up the inside of John Goudet. John has to leave him the space. Can he keep that Mercedes round the outside? He'll have the inside line for the right-handers coming up. He does. Flicks it through the left-hander, and John is going to take that position back from Mirko Richie. So he moves back up the inside, and job done there. It almost looks like John let Mirko have the inside of turn 2 there, so he could get back round the outside and hang on in there for turn 3 and 4.
Yeah, focus purely on the exit and the drive to keep hold of the position. Meanwhile, Richie Michelle is bringing that gap down. Gary Clawball's pulling away from Stephen Millington. So Richie Michelle now within 9/10 of Robert Smith. This is going to be the fight of Robert's life. He's going to want to hold on to this position for as long as he possibly can.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Robert Smith can do and whether Robert Smith can hold on to this position. And with 20 minutes left in this race, and round 16 of the season, 24 races in this championship, and we're getting close to that penultimate to that end of the season. Suzuka.
Mirko Ricci's dropped it. Mirko Ricci looked to the inside of John Goudet, touched the inside curb, and around he goes. I didn't actually see it on the game. I saw. I'm kind of got John Goudet's stream to my right hand side, and I can see John Goudet's relief after that.
I bet there was a puff out of the cheeks there. Paul Williams now on the back then of Mirko Ricci. Drive through cleared for that of Cranky Duckhead as Richie Michel's now right on the rear of Robert Smith. But Suzuka next week, join Dan Davis live at 8 PM on the Tuesday night for that of the GT4s. That is rounds 22, 23 and 24. And myself and Dan will be back next week on Wednesday evening for Pro-Am at Suzuka for rounds 17 and 18 of the championship as we head into the final 4 weeks. Championship starting to come to an end, and we start to look at them red numbers to say that drivers are eliminated and cannot win that championship creep up and up and up, and that's going to see then where people and what people are going to be doing. Obviously we'll see tomorrow night if Dan manages to eliminate any drivers from the running of winning the championship, as Robert Smith goes a little wide on the exit of turn 1. Richie Michel then right up the inside. Rob Smith, has he used his head there and he's able to keep the BMW? He's not. He's gone wide, Dan, and isn't able to keep that BMW side by side into this next part of the circuit. And Richie Michel, job done. Through he goes. He's P3.
He messed that right up. He just needed to just hold the apex. He didn't have to do anything fancy. He didn't have to do anything at all. And Richie Michel, just using the superior grip from the new tyres, clears him, and onto the next car he goes. And there we go. That's he should have fought harder than that, in my opinion. But either way, it is Richie Michel now up into P3. Can he chase down Stephen Millington and pass him just before the end of this race? He's got about 9 seconds to the race lead, so it is still doable.
It's doable, but there's traffic, and that is Rob Smith who's the traffic in front. And you're in a part of a circuit, you're not going to want the traffic. By the time he gets onto the back of Rob Smith, it's probably at the best places down the start-finish straight. Millington not really being held either. He's got Dennis Hansen just in front of him, so that's probably not the worst back marker to have in front of you, pace-wise, because Robert Smith will be able to just pull away. Look at the marbles on this circuit. That's what Dan means by it's a real tie-deg track here, because the amount of marbles you see being picked up. 4.8 Millington to Clarbel. So Clarbel's been held a little bit here by back markers, and that's cost him a little time. He was lapping Francisco, and Dennis Hansen actually trying to catch Francisco, so a fight developing there.
Yeah, Rob Smith just jumping straight out of the way of Richie Michel down the straight, lifted off the throttle, and Richie Michel did not even have to worry about it. It was just a clear, just slipstream as well for him as well. So Richie Michel now a clear run towards Stephen Millington, who's got a next car for him to clear. But Lamborghini is now chasing down the Ferrari, the two Italian manufacturers going at it for second and third in this race.
Yep, and there is Stephen Millington. Look, on board with Richie Michel. You can just see Stephen Millington in the distance. 2.9 seconds the gap. There is a bit more traffic coming up, though. That off Francisco as well. And we've lost a driver. We did have 27. We're down to 26. I'm not sure who we've just lost from the lobby. Thankfully, it isn't any of the leaders at the moment. But we have just lost a driver there. So we'll see if they get back in and manage to get to the end of this race. But that is disconnected either way at the moment. The real fight's happening. There is a fight developing, actually. It's Old Tim Racer with Lando Norris. So let's see what will happen here. And whoever it is back in. It's the 473. That's Jamie who's had the disconnection.
Shame there for Jamie, as Gary Clarbel with a little bit more clean. Oh, he's had a moment. Gary Clarbel having a moment in turn 2 on the exit. The rear end of that Porsche was not happy. Tyres are now starting to pain right now. Stephen Millington, though, is still holding strong in P2, and Richie Michel is turning the gear right up and trying to hunt them down as best he can. Meanwhile, Old Sim Racer has caught Lando Norris. Old Sim Racer has been slowly working his way up through the pack as well. So Old Sim Racer now on the rear wing of that McLaren.
Robert Ramsell's not too far behind Dan as well, so Robert Ramsell could try and get on the back of Lando Norris here. Just maybe work his way back up towards that top 10 sort of area. Lando Norris holding his own at the moment against Old Sim Racer, and Sim Racer leaves it patiently waiting.
Yeah, he's just waiting for that prime opportunity to find a way past Lando Norris. He doesn't want to force it, he doesn't want to try and squeeze his way through, he just needs to be patient and see where the prime opportunity to get in. Meanwhile, Richie Michel 1.6 off the back of the Ferrari. That gap is slowly coming down.
That's one, Richie Michel's pace. That's two, superiority of this fresh tyres. The problem Richie's going to have is, has he got enough tyre left for that half an hour? For that 14 minutes, sorry, to get to the end of that half an hour. Has he taken the pain in the pit stops, and it's going to pay out for him? The bonus for Clarbel, there's 3 cars between himself. The problem is 2 of them are back markers.
Yeah, Gary Clarbel just needs to keep it on the road. That's all he needs to do. Hit his apex, hit his traction zones, and he should be fine.
Hope that Millington obviously makes the job hard for him as well.
Yeah, he really does need to hope that Richie Michel gets held up by Millington right to the very end, and this will then open the door for Gary Clarbel to take this race win, and I'm hoping that Stephen Millington will fight to the very end.
Yeah, let's wait and see what will happen then through here.
Old Sim Racer, meanwhile, sent it into the final corner on Lando Norris, but passed him off track, so he should really give that position back, I think.
We're currently watching Richie Michel on board. Got Millington right in front of him. Looks for the gap. And yeah, we just get out. That was always going to close. And Richie Michel just really trying now to open the door any way he needs to. What he doesn't need to do here, Dan, is be impatient. Dennis Hansen and Francisco are having their right fight just up front. That is for last spot. Maybe last spot but one now due to Jamie's disconnection. But they're having a squabble up front. Dennis Hansen looks to get past that of Francisco. Millington gets a better exit at the final corner, just opens the gap back up a little bit to Richie Michel. And they see Francisco and Hansen. There in the background is Robert Smith. No Justin Winter in sight at all. And he came out the pits, like Dan said, with Richie Michel. Just hasn't done anything with it, Dan.
No, he hasn't. Meanwhile, the 2 cars in front of these two really scrapping at the minute. Dennis Hansen has now cleared Francesco, but yeah, Richie Michel at the minute, it seems to be in the middle sector where obviously the grip of the tyre seems to be helping him out. But Stephen Millington at the minute, the longer that Richie Michel sits there, the more he'll learn and figure out where the superior grip from the Lambo. He's gone wide though, but he manages to scoop it back up, and they've got some lap traffic coming up. Richie Michel cannot cost to make a mistake at the minute. He's going to send up the inside of Stephen Millington, but he misses his brakes,
day late.
And he goes way off.
Day late, dollar short.
Does that clip with the wall?
No, I don't think he was near the wall. I just think it's his leg that's making him look like he's hit something. I don't think he got near it, but day late, dollar short. It was a real silly lunge up from Richie Michel, one that he probably didn't need to make. He got alongside well enough and would have had that inside line, but hey, Richie Michel, he's now 1.8 behind. What this does though, Dan, is it helps Gary Clarbel massively. That gap is now some 8 seconds from Richie Michel to Gary Clarbel, and like I say, that battle up front was immense. Lando Norris has got Robert Ramsell for company now, and Robert Ramsell having a look up the inside, doesn't do it there, and good little fight started to develop around this circuit now.
Yeah, that kind of just cements Gary Clarbel's lead now, and he just needs to keep it. Well, saying that, he's had a moment. The gap has dropped down to 3.7, so he did have a 5-second gap. The gap has come down. The 1-1-3, there's another drive-through. That is Francesco. He's now got the drive-through for track limits.
Yeah, and he's got Millington not far from the back of him, and Richie Michel. So this could be a godsend for Richie Michel and Millington if Francisco pulls into the pits here then. But like I say, Gary Clarbel's had a moment somewhere, and that gap is now down to 3.7 to Millington. So It's going to be interesting to keep our eyes on that. Lando Norris and Robert Ramsell, though, still going at it. Here comes Ramsell, having a look to the inside, the final corner. Brakes later, tries to get it done. Lando gives him the room, and that of Ramsell, just couldn't get the throttle out the corner.
No, he couldn't get it, and the McLaren should be better in a straight line, as Richie Michel has now caught onto the back of Stephen Millington once again, and they've already cleared Francesco, so Francesco got well out of the way easily for these guys. And it looks like there's been a car off in front of Gary Clarball. Who is that?
Monkey Boy.
That is Monkey Boy, and he was in a fight with Steve Beck, so Gary Clarball's got more cars between him and the cars behind him, and once again Stephen Millington is only 4/10 ahead of Richie Michel. He just needs to do what he did earlier on, keep his composure and allow Richie Michel just to make his own mistakes.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's fantastic to see. What's going to be the interesting one here, though, now is what Richie Michel can do. He went a little wide on the exit of the final corner. He needs to watch out for track limits here. He does not want to get himself a penalty in this one. A drive-through penalty could be catastrophic. Oh, I thought he had there, but it's not. It's Francisco Gomez who's got to serve it now within 2 laps. 9 minutes after this race. That is Dennis Hansen who's gone off on the exit of turn 1 as he rejoins and allows Monkey Boy through. Rejoins just so ahead of this fight between Millington and that of Richie Michel. And this is an awkward place for Millington to be putting a lap on Dennis Hansen. With Richie Michel right there, he's not going to want anything to happen.
Yeah, indeed. He's giving the flash of the lights to Dennis Hansen, saying, look, dude, come on, get out of the way. I've got the championship leader right up behind me. He's trying to get past me, and at the minute, Dennis Hansen really is being a bit of a hindrance at this stage. And Richie Michel looking for an opportunity here. This could be his chance, while the back markers are being a bit of a nuisance for Stephen Millington. And still, Dennis Hansen will not get out of the way, as blue flags will be thrown at the minute. And Stephen Millington must be now getting to the point of getting absolutely stressed out. Dennis Hansen finally runs wide, and that's going to allow the leaders through, but a couple corners longer than he needed to.
Yeah.
Monkey Boy!
Bit silly that from Dennis Hansen. Monkey Boy's had a moment, and he's dropped round once again.
He nearly dropped into the path of Stephen Millington, and nearly.
Yeah, that could have been catastrophic. Millington's gone a little wide, and now Richie Michel to the outside line down towards the final corner. It's the wrong line to have. He's going to need to come back up and under and tuck underneath out of Millington. He's going to try and hang it around the outside, though. Brave move. Doesn't really get the momentum. This is now a drag race to the line. Richie Michel versus Stephen Millington. Who is going to be able to take turn 1 as the leader? Another couple of cars in between Gary Clarball and these two. That's going to be huge. And they're still side by side. Millington holding the inside line strong and manages to get back in front of Richie Michel. This all playing into the hands of Gary Clarball as Michel goes for a late lunge. Millington sees it coming and goes a little deeper. And has that probably cost him? Yes, it has. He's gone too deep.
Yeah, a bit of a lunge there from Richie Michel. Possibly getting a little bit desperate there. And knowing that Gary Clarball has got several cars in front of him. And yeah, Richie Michel there working his way up into second place position there. Great awareness from Stephen Millington. Though.
Oh, huge, yeah, massive awareness. Could have been an incident that wasn't. John Goodey gaining on the back of Casper All-In. Robert Ramsell has passed and dropped out of Lando Norris, so even though he's had a drive-through penalty this race, he's still back up into 9th place. Great result for Robert Ramsell here. And John Goodey just trying to get closer to the back then of that of Robert Ramsell. On board with John Goodey now. There you can see the McLaren.
Gary Clarball needs to keep his head clear now.
Yeah.
He needs to just focus on hitting his apex, focus on getting in his lines. If he does all that, he should be okay to hold on. Yes, Richie Michel is going to come flying through, but he's got back markers to clear first. He's got Steve Beck to clear. By the time he clears Steve Beck, he will then catch on to the back of Argent. So this is in Gary Clarball's hands now.
Yeah.
And look already, Richie Michel has dropped Stephen Millington so quickly.
Yeah, he's done really well, hasn't he, at the moment. They've all got past best. They've got Steve Beck to clear up front. 3.5 seconds is the gap. And what is it, a minute and a half? So, poor. Oh, there we go. Disqualification for Francisco. He's had his 3 laps. That'll be no points for him in this race due to the disqualification of not doing the drive-through then. A little silly from Francisco there, and that's just going to hurt him in terms of a no points finish in the 21st day. And now a drive-through penalty. Dennis Hansen. So it's probably a good job he's not having a very good race.
What's this about track limits not being obeyed?
That's 5 drive-throughs, right? That. Yeah, Mike.
They are there. It's just some of these guys have learnt to obey to him.
Oh, Tony, that is absolutely brutal. Monkey Boy's getting good at peaceful pirouettes.
Wow.
That's brutal.
That is brutal.
What
it's
he's
a fine art, that.
What he's actually perfecting, Tony, is the Wasaki windmill. That's what Monkey Boy's perfecting there. John Cuday still within half a second of Casper Olin. A little bit closer now as they come through the exit of turn 1. Richie Michelle 3.6. John, break earlier as you nearly run into the back of Casper Olin there, and that one is going to have to be rebuilt up and rebuilt. 3.6 of the gap up front.
I'm on his stream. His front right is at 28.1 psi. 28.2 psi.
That's a little over pressure.
And his front brakes went orange.
Right, now, I noticed this with John. Him and Cloud in the endurance race, their brakes went orange every time they braked into turn 1. 105 now has a drive-through. That is Rob Smith, making that 6 drivers with a drive-through.
Yeah, I'm watching John's lap. They're very orangey yellow. I
mean, him and Clouden did the same in the endurance race, and I didn't understand it, and I don't understand it now.
It's got to be the brake ducts. It's got to be the brake ducts. Has they closed the brake ducts too much? I mean, it's usually around 3. If you go to 2, that's the danger level, really.
If they've closed them for 2 for like the cooler quali conditions, it's 2 degrees warmer than quali. We're getting in more into that daytime. It's nearly at 8 p.m. So you've got to open them back up, surely. You've got to open them back up. But John, having brake problems, tyres are very much over pressure, and is that maybe why he's not stopping down into turn 2 there, because of the fact he just hit his brakes and it wasn't gripping and slowing down enough?
Yeah, possibly so. A man who's definitely had a very quiet night, especially in this second race, Sam in P6 at the minute, the
and
second
Brian
best
Craig.
BMW. Yeah, both of these two having a very quiet night at the minute, but both are in a lock horn fight at the minute, and to be probably best of the rest tonight. Probably Justin Winter's best of the rest this evening, but he's still hanging sideways like he always does. But Brian Craig onto the back of Sam. Brian Craig always seems to have pace to catch onto the back of cars, but then can never do anything with it. Yeah,
and if you notice in recent weeks as well, Brian Craig's not really pulled up any trees, but come the end of the night, it's been like top 10, and it's like, oh, where's he come from?
Yeah.
Watching a trio of a fight here, though. John Goodey still on the back of Cas Brolin. Mirko Ritchie's now come to the party. Track limit still for the 105. Mirko sends one on John. How he's got that stopped, I do not know. That was a late lunge from Mirko Ritchie, and he's got got John Goodey done.
He has indeed. Now Gary Clarbor's got a car between himself and Richie Michelle. He's now got to clear DJ Phil, which he does so that's another car, but Cranky now clears as well, so DJ Phil falls in behind Gary Clarbor. Gary Clarbor's going a bit deep, and DJ Phil nearly went with him, so he's only got to survive possibly 2 laps, I think, maybe 3.
This one and 2 more. This one and 2 more is the case. DJ Phil right out the way. He's even indicated for Richie Michelle, so that's nice of DJ Phil to get right out the way and indicate there. 1.6 seconds is the gap. DJ's lost it on the curve. I think he's managed to keep it facing the right way, so he's carried on going, but 1.6 seconds to gap. Brian Craig on the back of Sam. Casper Olin has got Mirko Ritchie and John Goodey for company. What a fight this is between this trio.
Cranky Duckhead coming into pit lane probably to do his drive-through. 1.4 is now the gap between Gary Carball and Richie Michelle. He's coming to pit lane.
Strange. It's Rob Smith that's got a drive-through, and it was Dennis Hansen who done one. Cranky Duckhead is in the pit, so I'm not sure why, but he had a drive-through earlier. He got it done, so it is possibly just a lap of fuel too light. But 1.4 the gap. Mirko Ritchie trying to get past Casper Olin. This is for position at the moment. Obviously not going to matter what Casper does, because Dennis Hansen scoring little points that it isn't going to matter. 1.2 now the gap out front, and Gary's got, I believe, Argent just ahead of him. He will want Argent behind him. There'll be 1 lap left after this, and Argent moves out of the way and allows Gary Clarble through. Drive through for the 133. That is now Casper Olin in that fight with John Goodey, and Mirko Ritchie gets himself a drive through penalty. And is he going to come in and do this straight away? He's going to lose out to these two. He doesn't do it straight away. he's got to do it next time around. Otherwise, in fact, yeah, he's got to do it next time around. Otherwise, it'll be a 30-second time penalty at the end of his night. Richie Michelle got past Kieran Argent. Well, gap is now 9/10 stand, and there's going to be one lap left.
It's going to be done on the last lap, but I think as long as Clarball meets his brakes and his apexes, he should be able to hang in there for a race win, and he's going to fight for it right to the very end. Obviously, Richie Michelle probably would have had this race in the bag if he had stuck to the original plan. Exactly 1 second is the gap. Porsche versus Lamborghini to the very end here. Volkswagen will be very happy about it because it's their two prime supercars going at it, but Gary Clarball just has to do everything right now, and Richie Michelle, he can't do anything stupid. He has to be fair. He can't just lunge. He can't just make a mistake. He has to do it cleanly.
He must do it cleanly. That's the biggest thing. Casper Olin has been passed by Mirko and John Goody. We're watching for the rear wing of that of Gary Clarball as Richie Michelle's getting closer and closer. What he can't be disappointed with, though, is points, because at the end of the day, Richie Michelle is not losing out to a championship contender, and that is the main thing here. Half a lap done, and Gary Clarball is doing exactly what he needs to do. He's only been caught by 0.3 of a second. Now Casper Olin's got back ahead of John Goody. Playerman's gained on the back of Paul Williams. We'll be able to catch up with these fights as they happen down the track towards the end of this race. But Gary Clarball is the fight we're watching at the moment. That's because him and that of Richie Michelle are going hammer and tong at the moment in towards the final sector. Now they come. It's down another 10th, and it's down to 6/10. Richie Michelle has not got enough to do here. Casper Olin will not do the drive-through penalty, which possibly means disqualification, if not a 30-second time penalty, because it's the last lap of the race. So that's going to put him down the order as well. And around the final corner, Gary Clarball. Elbow surgery last year took him out of pro, but he's going to take a race win here in this one. An absolutely great drive from him. Well done to Gary Clarball. Richie Michelle in second. Steve Millington is going to come across the line for a solid night of P3s. Robert Smith for a P4. Steve Beck and Argent have finished 17th and 18th. Justin Winter down the pack as Monkey Boy there coming across the line, as well as DJ Phil. And then a bit of a wait back down to Sam in this one. But Stephen Millington, yet another solid result and another podium to add to his collection. Robert Smith back up there with a good result finally in this one. Justin Winter with a P5. That's huge points for him. Kieran Argent in that 17th. Not great. Steve Beck down in 18th place with Monkey Boy in 19th. Sam crosses line P6. Brian Craig P7 just from Old Sin Racer. Here comes Robert Ramsell to the line now for that 9th place. And there he goes. And then it is going to be that of Lando Norris for P10. Not a bad result for Lando Norris. Mirko Ricci will be P11, will he, in this one? Yes, he will, ahead of John Goody. So a good result there for him. John Goody P12. Casper Olin, 30-second time penalty to his name, so we'll see where he ends up. Luke Saunders on his last outing, his 50th outing, is P14, just ahead of Paul Williams and Playerman. And that then is your grid order. Dan, good night of racing.
Yeah, good night worth of racing. I do think Richie Michelle made the mistake there. He should not have taken tyres. He would have been fine. He had the pace, he had the consistency, but maybe he wanted to have a bit of fun. Who knows? But nonetheless, Gary Clarball, well-deserved race win. I'm not sure if it's his first race win, but yeah, well-deserved from him. And it's been a great night's worth of racing in general. There's been some great action up and down the order. And once again, the Valencia has delivered in some action-packed racing, and also the track limits have made others make mistakes, and they had to pay the price. I think it was what, 7 cars in the end with drive-throughs. So,
yeah, I believe so. And I think for drivers watching for tomorrow night, Dan, that's obviously going to put them in their mind up going, oh, maybe turn one we can't run as much as we first thought.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's already in my mind. I knew that from the beginning. But yeah, it's definitely going to be one for the boys to keep an eye on. And who knows what the pros can do. Maybe they'll push even harder and push the limits that little bit too far. But nonetheless, a really nice worth of racing. And a driver of the day poll is up for you guys. Currently, Gary Clarball, Stephen Millington, Richie Michelle and Sam are your options. But if you think somebody else deserves driver of the day, then put it in the chat. And yeah, On to Suzuka, the land of the rising sun next.
Well, I've got the Discord account in the comms box on Discord, so I'm just going to wait and see for a moment who is, if anybody is going to be jumping in there, and if they do, then we'll jump in for an interview and we'll swap the microphones over. But Dan, great night from yourself. Great night from yourself. Sorry, great night from the Pro-Am boys. Who are you giving driver of the day to?
Oh. Gary Carball with a fantastic race win, but I'm going to have to give it to Stephen Millington. Another well-deserved drive. Fantastic first race, being able to defend off the other cars. And then Richie Michelle giving him a hard time, and he never really cracked. He never really made a mistake. And in the end, he ended up taking 2 podiums tonight. Brilliant night's worth of racing for Stephen Millington.
Yeah, great night's worth of racing for Stephen. I'm going to go the same way. I think Stephen Millington's had a cracking night. No disrespect to Richie Michelle, but Stephen Millington, I think he's just impressing me a little bit at the moment. So he's coming late in this championship.
I mean, if Richie Michelle hadn't made that bad strategy call, we might have been having a different conversation.
Yeah, I think so.
But either way.
I think Millington's just having a good showing at the moment. Doesn't look like anybody's coming in for an interview into the Discord, so we will leave proceedings there. Join me and Phil Raven live tomorrow night for the pros, where Dan will take his Lexus out onto the circuit and see what he can do this week. Don't forget, GT Force will be back next week on Tuesday night at Suzuka for rounds 22, 23 and 24 of the championship. Dan Davis will be bringing you the action from that one, and me and Dan will be back for rounds 18 and 19 for round 17 and 18 of the Pro-Am Championship. Don't forget to check out our links in the description for our fantastic sponsors, Design Manchester and Audio Sport, as well as if you want to get involved here at SimPlay Motorsport, join the Discord and the SimGrid. And don't forget to leave a like, a thumbs up, a bell notification click for when we go live, and a subscribe to the channel. As without you guys, we wouldn't be able to put on this show, so thank you all for who has subscribed this year, and for all you newcomers who are still continuing to subscribe, and big up the channel. Driver of the day in the poll has gone the way of Gary Clauble, so congratulations to him for that one. For the fans vote for driver of the day, the commentators give it the way of Stephen Millington, and we will see you in a week's time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
And we are clear.
Sweet.
Audi, Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, Mercedes and Porsche are all on the grid. Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS, is part of the global competition that is led by Mercedes AMG from Audi Sport and then Ferrari. The grid is forming then as the cars make their way from the long pit lane round onto the circuit. It's not the sunniest, but it's dry, it's warm, and the teams are
Right, I'm going to jump into the other party and reset the lobby. Oh, God, I'm hot.
Right.
Well, it's a busy little racetrack. It's 4 kilometers, 2.5 miles approximately, 14 corners. There is a lot of the racetrack which is open to track limit abuse, and there's been a lot of drivers have been penalised at times.
I've just noticed something.
What?
Hang on. PN started the country file party, but no one joined it, so we stopped it. Arjun, you're shit. Sorry.
Now look, you done, Matt. You've upset him now.
I ain't upset him. He's already upset. I ain't hit him. Put the tickets in. We'll have a look. Robert Ramsell, night place. You confirmed late as well today, didn't you? Jamie. You Yeah. Ah, right, okay. Jamie, 23rd. John won it.
his car in the end will start 12th on the grid, sharing with Fred Leach, the man with his back to us right now.
If it's two separate incidents, it'll be one, two, won't it? Why isn't the second one? If you feel like it's a ticket, put a ticket in. DJ. If you feel like you want to put it, what you want it looked at, put a ticket in. But if it's two different incidents, probably just the one. Ryan Craig. Yeah, I'd say that's two separate tickets. Brian Craig's been that quiet tonight. He's got 9th and 7th.
No! Dirty bastard!
He's been Wasaki windmilling all night. Is their party still there? Hang on.
For me, like, I was have a misunderstanding, honestly, like, qualifying speaking because
Oh.
the rules are changing every time.
Which one's that one?
No one,
The Monkey Boy one.